The November 6th Lane Community College Board of Education regular meeting will now be called to order. Celia, will you please call roll?
Yes. Kevin Alltucker.
Here.
Denise Diamond. Here. Austin Volnaghi.
Austin's communicated he'll be arriving late this evening.
Lisa Fragola. Here. Sophie Gibson. Here. Steve Mattel.
Here.
Zach Mulholland.
Here.
Julie Weisman.
Here.
Okay, we will be moving on to the land recognition. The land acknowledgement speaker for this evening is Smanga Mdalose. Smanga, will you please provide the recognition?
All right. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. First of all, it's such an honor to be able to do the land acknowledgement. We begin our meeting with the acknowledgement that the land we are on is the traditional homelands of the Kalapuya people. The Kalapuya were stewards of this very land for 14,000 years before their traditional way of life was forever disrupted. We start our meeting with humility and reverence for the original inhabitants, the Kalapuya.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes to be made to the agenda? Okay, not seeing anything. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the November 6th board agenda, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, say nay. And it passes unanimously. Okay, Equity Lens, please note that the Equity Lens has been provided for the board's reference. And responses to information requests, do we have any questions or comments to the responses to information requests? Okay, I have some follow-up questions, but I'll ask at the times related to those subject matters and at the end of the meeting. Okay, next up is public comment. So the board may not respond directly to any issues raised during public comment, but we'll refer those issues to the president for appropriate action. Celia, do we have any public comment?
Yes.
Okay, if you will begin that process for us. Thank you.
We'll start in person and then we'll go online. In person, we have Rick Riordan, Jerry Meanigan, and Wendy Simmons, followed by Deborah McGee and Lynn Woodrich online.
Good evening, board members. My name is Rick Riordan from Health Information Management. As a union member, I would like to comment on the recent announcement that LCC plans to require all faculty to live in Oregon after stating it would not be required just a month ago. I realize these are complex issues, but for an entirely online program like ours, this will be problematic for several reasons. First of all, it's collective bargaining. These are working conditions. These decisions should be bargained over as this impacts online faculty. Online learning like AI is not a one-size-fits-all approach. To just say no to this out of hand isn't a good decision. These things are complicated. There's some valid concerns. There are taxes, there's meetings, there are other concerns. But these same concerns don't seem to apply to Ed2Go. Secondly, in terms of health information management's increasingly becoming remote work. Likewise with health information education. If you're seen at the emergency room at Peace Health Riverbend, your bill is coded and billed by a coding and billing service based in Massachusetts. If you call them, you get customer service agents that are based all over the country. The HIM director at Peace Health Riverbend is based in Vancouver, Washington, and comes into Peace Health Riverbend as needed. Likewise, The HIM director at Mackenzie Willamette actually lives in Tennessee. In terms of education, it's more the same. We have faculty at Santa Barbara City College. In California, a well-regarded HIM program, only 2 faculty actually live in the state of California. They live in Virginia, Hawaii, and other states. I myself have taught at Los Angeles Mission College for over 3 years, 2 of them while I'm living here in Oregon. So my point is, this is becoming the norm with remote work in HIM. And then finally, and I'll be brief, I'm not saying that everything should be online. I don't want to have my blood drawn by somebody who watched a YouTube video. But one size doesn't fit all. And what I'm recommending that we look at this and meet, discuss, and bargain. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Minahan, and I'm a faculty member in cooperative education, a co-chair of our faculty council, and a member of the LCCEA. I'm here this evening to express my disappointment with our administration's recent publication of a draft procedure by which they will be attempting to require all contracted faculty members to draft and submit a form to estimate the non-teaching work they plan to complete each academic term of the contract year, as if faculty were hourly employees and not salaried professionals. There are 3 fundamental flaws with this draft procedure. 1, adding quarterly documentation requirements for roughly 200 employees is, in aggregate, a huge workload increase for the faculty. Because workload issues are a mandatory subject of bargaining, the appropriate order of operations would be to introduce the subject during bargaining, bargain the issue, come to an agreement, and then write a procedure on said agreement. Writing a draft procedure for an issue of bargaining before it's agreed to and well before the bargaining has officially begun seems premature at best. 2, for the past 12 years as a faculty member, I have been trusted to engage in non-teaching work in a manner that aligns with my schedule, interests, and expertise, and I have served diligently. An organization concerned with its campus climate should know that asking for regular documentation as proof of what the vast majority of faculty are already doing and doing well is a form of micromanagement that erodes trust and engagement. 3, and lastly, perhaps most importantly, there is already a process in place whereby faculty members can detail their non-teaching work. I know from experience that managers' developmental evaluations of faculty members include questions about how faculty engage in non-teaching work. I recall providing these details back in my last evaluation in 2014, 10 years ago. Like me, numerous contracted faculty members have not received a developmental evaluation from their manager in many years. So perhaps all of this could be avoided by simply getting up to date on developmental evaluations. Thank you very much for listening.
Hi, I'm Wendy Simmons, and I teach in the PE department. I'm speaking tonight as the Vice President at Large for the LCC Executive Council and as a union member. There's no place like home. Let's give our students, our coaches, and a community a place to practice and play at home on a turf baseball field here at LCC. I ran track and cross country in college. My coach and fellow athletes supported me in countless ways as I pursued a degree. Skills of discipline, responsibility, hard work, amongst many others, were reinforced. Relationships were built that still last today, decades later. We all got to practice, compete, take classes together in person, and develop those relationships right there at the college we attended. It was all part of my student experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I coached track and cross country here at Lane for 2 years. I saw from that perspective how being a part of the college team keeps students engaged and challenges them to do their best both in the sport and in their academic pursuits. It creates relationships among the athletes and coaches that helps them succeed in school and ties them to their community. We know this supports recruitment and retention. You heard from Athletic Director Greg Shealy how this is happening with our student athletes and with dedicated part-time faculty, their coaches, working countless hours to recruit and retain these students. We are already a commuter school and not easily accessible for many. Soccer and track have had turf fields since 2010, and they were redone in the summer of 2023. Yet we continue to leave out baseball. How can we now decide to exclude baseball student athletes? It is my understanding also that the baseball turf field was included in the 2009 bond, but the administration decided to spend funds elsewhere, so the funds were no longer available. I served on the Sustainability Committee here at Lane for several years. I've been driving my electric car for 7 years. I pay 3 times more than I used to pay to participate in the Sanipack Recycle Plus program to reuse and recycle as much as I possibly can. I compost, I don't use pesticides, I don't water my lawn, and I'm reseeding what's left of it with clover that uses significantly less water. I regularly attend events put on by and donate to Beyond Toxics, the Western Environmental Law Center, the Biological Center for Diversity, and 350 Eugene, all environmental stewards. I'm a champion for environmental justice, and while I know there are some environmental concerns about turf, the benefits to our students and our community far outweigh the negative effects. We are asking for your support to bring our baseball team back to their home field. Let's help these athletes succeed in school and have the student life experience they deserve. Thank you.
I will go online, Deborah McGee, followed by Lynn Woodrich.
Patty, I need help with there we go. You good? Good evening. My name is Deborah McGee. I am a retired public school educator, and I've lived in Lane County for 45 years. I've taken everything from work-related computer classes to woodshop and volleyball at Lane. I have appreciation and regard for the opportunities that Lane Community College brings to our community. I believe you care about being a good neighbor. And that is why I want to talk with you about your decision considering whether to have natural or organic soil-based turf or artificial synthetic turf on playing fields. A quick bit of research reveals that artificial turf contains PFAS, the forever chemicals. It's very small, trace amount, but any amount is not healthy for our bodies. Artificial turf may be made from nylon, polypropylene, or polyethylene, and these products are made from chemicals, including many that pose a risk to human health and animal health. And I will name a few for you here. Benzene, a known human carcinogen, arsenic, known human carcinogen, styrene, suspected of being a carcinogen, zinc, which is a neurotoxin, cadmium, chromium, both human carcinogens, volatile organic compounds, including hexane and formaldehyde, which cause respiratory irritation, phthalates, which are a reproductive toxin, and crystal silica, which is also a carcinogen, and also particulate matter, to name just a few. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of these toxic chemicals in artificial turf because of their rapidly developing organ systems and the immature detoxification systems. And finally, each synthetic turf field loses 0.5 to 8.0% of its fake grass blades annually, yielding between 200 and 3,200 pounds of plastic waste to our environment every year. These are microplastics. They migrate off the field into our air, our soil, our waterways, and our oceans. Right now, there are more microplastics in the ocean than there are plankton. LCC should do the right thing and not add any more toxins to the environment. please choose soil-based turf. Thank you for this opportunity.
Lynn Woodrich.
My name's Lynn Woodrich. I've been a Eugene resident for over 50 years and was an instructor at LCC. I'm speaking in opposition to installing AstroTurf on your baseball fields. Natural grass is cheaper than artificial turf, both upfront and over the life cycle of the product, and is better for the environment. The Mount Sinai Children's Environmental Health Center at the Institute for Climate Change, Environmental Health, and Exposonics recommends against the installation of artificial turf playing surfaces in fields due to the uncertainty surrounding the safety of these products and the potential for dangerous heat and chemical exposures. Artificial turf has been tested to contain different types of PFAS. All samples tested include quantities of fluorine that suggest the presence of PFAS. Recent research showed athletes who played on artificial turf had higher levels of PFAS than before they played. The U.S. women's national soccer team no longer plays on artificial turf after a 2020 settlement on a discrimination lawsuit against U.S. soccer. The team had been vocal about their concerns over artificial turf for years and refused to play on it in 2015. They argued that the artificial turf can damage the player's skin and worsen injuries, and that it doesn't roll as easily as grass, affecting the rhythm of the game. Heat is a rising cause of death among youth athletes. Research at Brigham Young have found an artificial turf field got as much as 86 degrees hotter than a grass field on a summer day. Projections show Lane County will likely have 31 more days above 90 degrees each year by 2050 and 58 more days above 90 degrees each year by 2080. Thank you.
Roman Dean.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Roman Dean, and I've been a student at Lane Community College for 2 years, working towards my degree in mechanical engineering. I am local and was born in Eugene and have lived here all my life. I'm on track to receive my transfer degree soon, with plans to transfer to a 4-year university, and I'm proud to say that I'm also a member of our Lane Titans baseball team. Choosing Lane was an easy decision for me, especially because of its reputation, both in academics and athletics. I saw an opportunity here to be a part of a program that genuinely supports student athletes. However, as much as I love playing for our team, one issue has made it difficult for us to fully thrive. Our grass baseball field is unplayable in the valley's constant rain. Transitioning to a turf field would not only improve our team's camaraderie, but it would also have a positive impact in our community. Firstly, a turf field would allow us to play and practice at home much more consistently. As it stands, unpredictable weather conditions make the field unusable, forcing us to practice on the soccer field or other schools' fields. A turf field would provide a reliable, playable surface that withstands rain and can be used year-round. This would significantly enhance our training environment, allowing us more game-like practice time, and would put us on par with the conditions we face during away games. A home field advantage is essential, but because of our current field limitations, we frequently travel to find suitable practice facilities, which takes valuable time away from school and work. By reducing travel time, we'd have more hours to dedicate to our studies and personal commitments, which are critical for community college athletes who not only have to juggle sports and studies, but often have to work. Secondly, beyond the benefits to our team, a turf field would be a huge asset to the Eugene and Springfield community as a whole. A modern, attractive facility would bring more people to campus, not only for our games, but for potential tournaments, events, and practices with local youth leagues. This influx of people provides a chance to provide and showcase Lane's facilities and build connections with prospective students and community partners. Having local families, young players, and high school teams encounter our campus and field would serve as a powerful recruiting tool for Lane, sparking interest in our programs and helping us build a future generation of athletes and students. Speaking for myself, exposure to a college turf field in high school would have been a fantastic experience and one that I looked forward to every year. Finally, a turf field would bring a financial benefit to Lane. By renting the field for high school tournaments, community events, and youth team practices, the college could generate additional revenue, helping to offset maintenance costs. Furthermore, when young athletes get a taste of what Lane has to offer, whether through playing on a quality field or seeing the campus firsthand, many of them may consider attending Lane for their college experience. This would ultimately increase our enrollment, adding tuition income from new students who might not have considered Lane otherwise. To walk it off, investing in a turf baseball field would go beyond just improving our current players' experience. It would strengthen our program, benefit our school, and build meaningful partnerships with the broader community. As the classic baseball movie Field of Dream put it best, if you build it, they will come. Thank you for considering this proposal for Lane's athletic and educational advancement.
Zara Pastos, Judith Kelly, Amy Beasley, April Myler, Jen Sacklin, Julie Pfaff, Alicia Niles.
Evening, board members, Dr. Bolger, and everyone else. I'm Zara Pastos, and on behalf of the Adult Basic and Secondary Education and English as a Second Language faculty, we stand in solidarity to address the impact of the change to our minimum qualifications and accrual families, as well as to dispel any misconceptions about our qualifications as educators. We ask for the board's support in encouraging leadership to recognize and respect us as dedicated and qualified professionals. Most of our faculty are currently teaching this evening, but their voices are included. In the October 9th, 2024 Academic Affairs Report to the board, inaccurate information and reasoning behind the changes to our minimum course qualifications were stated. We dispel the misinformation presented in this report on 3 specific points. 1, that no laws or regulations exist that require changing the minimum qualifications for ABSE and ESL non-credit courses. 2, that faculty are currently being disqualified for courses despite the minimum qualifications not yet going into effect. And finally, that no alternative certification process has been provided as a result of these disqualifications. We also dispel the new statement from leadership that no minimum qualifications exist. That is simply not true and follows no logic. In sum, faculty in ESL and ABSE work to update minimum qualifications in good faith and concurrently with our division dean. Particularly in ABSE, faculty-approved minimum qualifications were significantly changed by upper management to the point where any faculty member at Lane, non-credit or credit, would be hard-pressed to meet. To confirm, the faculty had no input on accrual families. Our multiple attempts to resolve these issues have been ignored or rejected. We compel all faculty to take note of this situation. While this might be happening to us now, it sets a highly problematic precedent for all faculty, undermining our rights, our profession, and our contract. We will now read the faculty impact statement, beginning with mine. All statements will be compiled and sent to the board as a follow-up to this meeting. Part of my identity is that I am Native. I'm from the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Nation in Montana. This process of having to prove that I belong here and that I'm valued for my identity, that I'm valued as a human being, and that I'm valued as a professional educator makes me feel oppressed. When I started working at Lane 10 years ago, I believed in its mission and I felt valued. Now it all feels performative to me. I'm professionally insulted and feel unsafe here. Lane Community College can do better, and it should, to truly live up to its mission of fostering a culture of achievement and a caring community. Please show us that you care about us and value the important work that we do every day. I will begin reading the next impact statement. The college dismisses the emotional tone and relational impact of the insistence that we are not qualified to teach our courses. I am left feeling the emotional burden of the college undervaluing our important work and, as such, our students. I feel undermined and betrayed, and I've lost a sense of safety for my career at LCC. There's persistent stubbornness and dogmatism on the side of the management in that their position is final and not up for discussion, despite the fact that they clearly made mistakes and that they are more interested in being right than being equitable or supportive. While I will always do my best for my students, I no longer believe the leadership is doing their best for us.
Good evening. My name is Judith Kelly. I'm here I teach in the ABSE department, and I'm here in solidarity with my colleagues. So I'm just going to pick up where she left off. This whole process has been a major distraction for the only reason I am here at LCC, that is to teach and engage students in the learning activities. The process of creating, proposing, and planning the implementation of the new minimum qualifications in accrual families has shown me a side of LCC that I never imagined existed. The process has not been a collaborative partnership characterized by Lane's core values of respect, fairness, and openness. The fundamental principles and framework of Lane's equity lens were not applied. There has been little to no transparency in the process, and the tactics that administrators have used have caused division and discord among faculty members. The collegiality within the department has suffered. And an institution that I once revered has made me fearful of its unchecked power and its wanton disregard for the impact of its unjust practices. In addition to changing my perspective of the college and negatively impacting the climate within the department, the proposed changes have heightened my feelings of job insecurity. As a single income earner, my little family and my household economy are dependent upon my ability to secure a 0.6 teaching assignment, and these proposed changes threaten that possibility. Furthermore, if I'm preoccupied with losing my faculty position and the cascading economic impact this will have on my household economy, how can I focus my efforts on student success? Being a new full-time faculty member, I am often taking on classes, projects, and roles that are new to me. This term, I am teaching 2 sections of a new course and altering an existing course to suit better students' needs, which amounts to a full-time schedule on its own. On top of that, we've had multiple hours of additional work every week to ensure our fair treatment and not miss important deadlines for negotiation, plus the emotional toll of strained working relationships due to the impacts of these minimum qualifications and family accrual changes. Being new and being probationary has made this uniquely challenging because I'm not familiar with many rules and important considerations, which requires me to ask a lot of my colleagues and our union to help me understand. I'm grateful to them for how gracious they've been with me throughout this whole process. This has been by far the hardest term I've ever had teaching, and in the first few weeks of the term, I worked all weekend, every weekend, to catch up and begin again on Monday morning. That kind of schedule does not produce my best work. Recently, I've been extremely conscious of focusing on the areas of work in which I find joy, working with students, collaborating with colleagues, and learning from their expertise and compassion, so that I can continue working in this job, which I have so much love for. It's been difficult to focus on these joyous, motivating components of the job when the future of our job is uncertain. Thank you.
I'm Amy Beasley. As an LCCEA union member, I'll continue reading statements. As an LCCEA union member, I have been truly impacted by our deans and the LCC administration's efforts to implement retroactive minimum requirements and the development of 7 accrual families. When we were presented with the minimum requirements and accrual families in a staff meeting, I was concerned about the accrual families. Since that meeting, I have seen a further decline in the morale, trust, and camaraderie that our department needs and should have to serve our students. We lost something crucial for that day for any team, trust. We lost trust that our dean and the administration would take our professional backgrounds and experience into account when assigning courses in the future. We lost trust that our jobs will be secure in the future. Another faculty member states, I am professionally insulted. As teachers, we are expected to present our students with clear learning outcomes and standards that we are teaching them. Why does the LCC administration get away with not presenting us with the outcomes and standards that they are basing each of our course qualifications on? As a seasoned student-centered teacher for 27 years, having taught at LCC for the better part of 10 years in ESL and ABSE, I find the changes in our department to minimum qualifications and family accruals insulting. I have spent countless hours submitting documentation to the administration of LCC to prove my qualifications to teach courses in both of these departments. These hours should have gone to my primary job, teaching students. Another faculty member states, I am so discouraged that I can't even find the energy to express it. The part-time faculty recently completed a course interest survey for winter term courses. What do I request to teach if there is no single course in the department that I am qualified to teach? Another faculty member states, the college's refusal to work cooperatively to resolve issues surrounding the ABSC ESL accrual families, minimum qualifications, and certifications has required me to dedicate a significant amount of time and effort on top of my already full workload. The time that I've put in advocating for myself and my fellow faculty, requesting corrections to my RIF report, justifying my qualifications, and other actions related to this dispute is time that I could have spent on student needs. Moreover, after years of dedicated service to this institution, the college's lack of transparency and refusal to work collaboratively with faculty makes me feel disrespected and devalued. Another faculty member states, it is really stressful to find out you are no longer qualified for a position and not understand why. The decision will impact many aspects of my life, and I am concerned that students will have a disruption in learning because so many faculty members will no longer be able to teach previously taught courses.
Hello, my name's April Myler, and I serve as LCCEA's secretary for the Executive Council, and I stand here tonight in solidarity with my colleagues. This emotional toll has certainly made it more stressful for me to carry on with my normal daily teaching tasks, such as keeping a calm, happy face for my students and having the mental bandwidth to stay on top of class prep and grading. Another faculty states, it was a shock to learn that such detailed and random aspersions have been cast on the qualifications of my fellow colleagues. This idea that unspecified individuals has surreptitiously decided that we instructors are supposedly not certified to teach the courses next to our names is bizarre and humiliating. The existence of this list represents an inappropriately and seemingly hostile undermining of our professional credentials. In a May 8th meeting with ESL faculty on the topic of changes to accrual families, Dean Anna Gates Tapia told instructors, everyone was certified about a year ago for our courses, so your certification is valid for 5 years, so you're all certified to teach all of our courses as of now. Let me repeat that sentence. In a May 8th meeting with ESL faculty on the topic of changes to accrual families, Dean Anna Gates Tapia told instructors, everybody was certified about a year ago for our courses, so your certification is valid for 5 years. So you're all certified to teach all of our courses as of now. Later in the same meeting, she repeated this explicit assurance. How has it now been invalidated? The whiplash caused by this 180-degree reversal has been highly disruptive. How are professionals expected to continue with the demands of a busy term in the wake of the doubts that have been raised by the existence of this absurd list? Moving into qualified statements. I am qualified. I have taught for LCC for over 12 years, including ESL, GED, and English and Spanish, and college preparation. My courses literally bring new enrollment and funding to this college term after term, and my students, per college data, consistently outperform their peers when in credit classes. Instructors in adult education are highly skilled educators in terms of advanced degrees, understanding diverse learning needs, pedagogies founded in equity and access, and the ability to believe and pull out the potential of our students who have otherwise faced barriers to their education. In very short terms, it takes highly qualified instructors to do what we do. I am qualified.
Good evening. My name is Julie Pfaff. I'm an instructor in ABSC and one of the faculty coordinators for the College and Career Foundations Division. I'd like to read for you some more qualification statements from our faculty. While I am certified to teach most of the courses we offer, I am still missing one course with no explanation for why I am no longer qualified with a master's degree in critical studies in literacy and pedagogy. I was hired within the past 2 years with the understanding that, under our single accrual family, I am qualified to teach any course we offer, aside from courses taught in Spanish, which I am not fluent enough to feel prepared to do. Why I am qualified for many courses that my colleagues who have been teaching in those areas longer than I have are not makes absolutely no sense to me. I am qualified. Another faculty member says, I hold a bachelor's degree in Spanish and a master's degree in linguistics TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages, as well as a pre-K through 12 teaching certificate in ESL and Spanish. I have taught most levels of K through 12 in public and private schools, adult education settings, universities, and community colleges in Arizona, Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and Mexico. I've taught everything from pre-literacy ESL to GED science, social studies, language arts, and math, as well as linguistics to pre-service teachers at OSU. Although we only have one accrual family in ABSC, I am apparently not qualified to teach any math courses in ABSC. I am qualified. Another faculty member says, at the time of hire, I had earned my bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in teaching. I also had my K through 12 TSPC teaching license and 5 years of experience in K through 12. Since being hired by the ABSC department 15 years ago, I have taught all but one term. I also taught for ALS. I have had my certifications in CASAS Adult Learning Standards and OCRS and continue to have my K through 12 teaching license. Beyond that, LCC has invested thousands of dollars in my continuing education to help me stay up to date with learning standards, techniques, and certifications. And thank you for that. I am qualified. Another faculty says, I was just hired this summer, so having many certifications missing on my RIF list is confusing to me. The job description post only has 2 required minimum qualifications listed, my master's degree in language teaching studies and my 2+ years of experience teaching TESOL to native or non-native adults. I am also concerned that this issue could impact what courses I can choose to teach in the future. I am qualified. And finally, although we currently only have one accrual family in ESL and one accrual family in ABSC, I apparently am not qualified to teach any classes in the ESL department anymore and any math courses in ABSC. Never mind that I have a bachelor's degree in Spanish, a master's degree in TESOL, and a K through 12 teaching certificate in ESL and Spanish. Never mind that I have taught several ESL courses and math courses for the ESL and ABSC departments over the past 10 years. Never mind that I have taught everything from pre-literacy ESL to GED science, social studies, language arts, and math, as well as linguistics to pre-service teachers over the span of more than 25 years. Guess what? I am qualified.
Hello, my name is Jen Sacklin. I am a part-time faculty member in ESL and in Career Pathways, and I'm also a part-time classified staff member in Career Pathways. Tonight, I will read a statement from myself and then other statements from colleagues. So from me, we are in a great period of uncertainty, as Dr. Bolger wrote in her email this morning to the campus. Now is not a great time to add even more uncertainty to our lives. And I'm speaking of these absurd lists that claim that some faculty in ESL and ABSC are not qualified to teach courses because of what seems to be a bureaucratic error. The college claims that we are unqualified to teach various courses because those courses, quote, have no minimum qualifications on record. So since we don't meet those non-existent qualifications, we can't teach the courses. This issue could be fixed with the click of a few buttons to add the minimum qualifications that have not yet been provided to us by somebody in the administration. And yet, the union is forced to take this issue very seriously, and we are forced to spend everyone's valuable time this evening showing you why we are qualified, because otherwise many faculty may have no future at this institution. Apparently, I cannot teach 3 classes. 1, the class I'm currently teaching, that I wrote the entire textbook for, and that the college is currently paying me thousands of dollars to edit. 2, a pronunciation class, even though I specialized in phonetics and phonology in grad school. And 3, a class called Jumpstart, which the college paid me to help design and which my dean asked me to substitute for next week. This is absurd. We all have terminal degrees in our field. We are all qualified. This issue is certainly not helping us achieve Dr. Bolger's goal of having a better campus climate. And with that, I will continue with another statement from a fellow faculty member who could not be here tonight because they are teaching. They write, I am not qualified to teach the class that I started last week. I am not qualified to teach the class that I taught last term. I am not qualified to teach the class I taught last spring. I am not qualified to teach the class I taught last winter. I am not qualified to teach the class I taught last fall. I have taught classes every term for the past 7 years, but I am not qualified to teach any of them. I am qualified. Another faculty member states, I taught credit math and writing developmental ed courses in academic learning skills, ALS, for 5 years and have taught multiple levels of math and reading and writing in ABSE for 13 years. According to the administration, I am unqualified to teach a reading-writing course that is virtually identical to 2 courses I have taught and/or am currently qualified to teach. Additionally, I was told that I may not be qualified to teach a course that serves a specific population, though I am qualified to teach a different course that serves that exact same population. I am qualified. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Niles, and I'll be concluding our statements today. We are standing together today in solidarity to address the erroneous claims about our qualifications. Despite the efforts to disqualify us, coupled with the impact this has had on us as educators, we persevere. In fact, initially, my colleagues in ABSE and I had intended to come to the board to discuss the highly effective and impactful work we have been doing to increase access and equity for adult learners throughout our service region. ABSE and ESL teams have been recipients of 4 recent Schaefer Innovation Awards. The last was submitted to the League for Innovation in the Community College to represent Lane. We continue to build effective programming to increase access and enrollment to the college through our adult learner programs. We are expanding our college preparation offerings and classes on main campus and GED and ESL classes in our rural communities, making education more attainable to all Lane County residents. Our students continue to outperform their peers in key success measures when they do enter credit classes. So this certainly sounds like the work of highly qualified educators. And tonight we are asking the board to consider the following 5 requests. First, recognize that we are dedicated, qualified professionals. Next, examine the misinformation about the minimum qualifications for ABSE and ESL, and that no laws exist or regulations requiring changing our MQs. Acknowledge we are faculty with advanced degrees who were hired based on our significant education, experience, and talent, and that we are qualified. Direct the administration to treat us with respect and discontinue sharing misinformation about us and the issues that impact our departments. And finally, direct the administration to work collaboratively with LCCEA to settle all the issues affecting ABSE and ESL faculty without further delay. And I wanted to add one more thing here. Having personally seen the anguish and toll this has taken on my colleagues, I also ask for President Bolger's personal commitment to begin healing the damage caused by this harm and rebuilding trust and a sense of safety for faculty. I hope that when the next time we return, it will be to highlight all of the highly impactful and innovative work that we do to support Lane's core mission and how we can help bring more funding to the college through the adult learner programming as a result of the new state funding formula. Now, that sounds like work that we should all prioritize as a community. We are qualified. Thank you.
Joshua Martin, followed by Eric Kim. Joshua? He's not on Zoom. Eric Kim, go ahead.
Good evening, Lane Community College Board of Education and Dr. Bolger. My name's Eric Kim. I teach psychology in the social science division. I'm here to talk about what students learn in psychology and the social sciences. Knowing about the psychology of attachment can help us make better choices to create a better society. Attachment, in general, is the emotional bond between infant and caregiver, but can be more expansive. Broadly speaking, there are secure and insecure attachment styles. Attachment styles can grow or diminish over time. For infants, safe and welcome contact comfort is associated with the development of secure attachment. In general, those with a secure attachment have fewer behavioral problems, better emotional regulation, better cognitive development, and better social relationships. In one study, 3-year-olds watched a puppet show. 3-year-olds with a secure attachment had a bias for remembering positive events. 3-year-olds with an insecure attachment had a bias for remembering negative events. They all saw the same puppet show, but what was remembered was related to their attachment styles. Remembering positive instances over time may help explain why those with a secure attachment may have better social relationships. They can see the best in others, not the worst. They can be supportive of others. Good social relationships can help people become resilient. I would predict that remembering positive instances over time can help people become more optimistic. They can be more optimistic, persist in the face of adversity, and have higher levels of achievement and be more pro-social. There are benefits for having a secure attachment. Good emotional regulation may help us recognize emotions such as anger or fear that can make it difficult to tolerate uncertainty, tolerate diversity, tolerate different points of view. Negative emotions can make it difficult to feel good about exploring the world around you. Having better cognitive development can reduce the tendency to commit the confirmation bias. Better cognitive development combined with good emotional regulation may keep us from distorting facts to fit our beliefs and help us recognize our own biases. Having better social relationships helps us be supportive of others so that they may take safe risks. Secure attachments is one thread in the tapestry of understanding people. With this knowledge, we need to encourage and support individuals, parents, institutions, and the community to foster secure attachments with the next generation to become better people. This is how heroes are created. Thank you.
Joshua Martin.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hello, this is Joshua Martin.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Hello, thank you. Sorry, I coach the Lane women's soccer program. We're on our way back from a playoff game up in Vancouver, Washington. So I appreciate your grace with me. I want to stand in solidarity and in support of the turf field out in the north lot of our campus. When I think of Lane Community College and everything that we stand for right now, it's dreams to degrees. And when I think of the dreams of the students and the student athletes, I think that it is a facility that serves both students and student athletes. And I think, the first thing I think of with student athletes is students. Being able to keep them home on campus, off the road. They've been traveling everywhere to train and to play. They don't have a home at Lane. They're playing on our soccer pitch right now, and we love having them. And so what I just want to hit on is dreams to degrees and community. When I think about community, I think a lot of us think about community in the present, but community for me is about the past and it's about the future. And I look at the way that we can serve our community moving forward with a pitch pitch is another word for field, I guess, soccer terminology. But more usable space that our students and our student athletes can use year round. I love the idea of grass. As a soccer coach, I grew up playing on grass. Grass, of course, is preferable if we lived in a climate that allowed it to be used year round. But right now, the field space is tough. Like the soccer field is used by 3 sports at the moment. The track turf gets used and it's rented out to a club. And when I think about the community, it's bigger than just our community in terms of Lane, but we're serving the Lane County community, not just the Lane Community College community. The number of families that come on campus and utilize our beautiful facilities is, I don't know if anybody's done the numbers on it, but we see over 10,000 families just for Eugene Metro over the course of a 3-year period, according to their study. And so that's a lot of families from Oregon. And if we could do that throughout the course of the year and not just the 5 months that we can play, that we could play on grass. Adding a baseball turf allows us to serve families. And when we're looking into the future, the number of families that we'll be able to serve grows exponentially at that point. Not just in terms of baseball, but in terms of archery, in terms of It's going to be close to the pickleball court. Parents coming to play pickleball and looking over and seeing, oh, Lane has a baseball team. Right now, it's tough to tell that. So I just want to stand in support of it in terms of serving the community and the families, not just the baseball players. Of course, we love our student athletes to play baseball, but this to me is so much more than just about Lane baseball. It's about how Lane baseball serves the community. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you to everyone who provided testimony. That is the conclusion of public comment. We will be moving on to the president's report. Dr. Bolger, will you please provide the report?
Yes, thank you, and good evening, everyone. I want to begin my report with thanking the Board of Education for your continued support. Your support enables Lane to build on our mission and strengthen our impact in the community. Your commitment to Lane's success has been vital to the progress we're seeing across all of our key priorities. October brought significant milestones for Lane's financial health and transparency. We have a new auditing firm. It's Moss Adams. They were on site, conducting their initial audit work and setting the stage for enhanced financial oversight and accountability. Additionally, in October, we had a bond oversight committee. They held their meeting on October 28th. They continued to review the progress of the bond program, monitor bond spending, and schedules as community members. Tonight, the board is going to receive a quarterly financial update that will focus on closing out fiscal year 2024 within a historical context. This closeout reflects our commitment to prudent financial management as we look ahead to meeting our strategic goals. Our efforts to support enrollment growth remain a priority. We've had some encouraging results. Our official numbers for fall quarter show 8.3% growth in full-time equivalent and 8.1% growth in overall enrollment. These indicators reflect the dedication of our faculty, our classified professionals, managers, and community partners, because they all work together to make Lane a destination of opportunity for students. Registration will be open soon for both winter and spring quarters, and we look forward to building the momentum as we support students in planning their academic journeys. We have a value of innovation at Lane, and that was highlighted in October through our participation in a presentation at the Association of Community College Trustees Leadership Congress. We co-presented with Lynn Benton Community College on generative artificial intelligence, embracing technology through collaboration. We highlighted the collaborative approach to AI shared by LCC and LBCC. We were honored to have 70 attendees join the session, and we're grateful to Board Vice Chair Kevin Altucker for co-presenting with us. At home, we enjoyed engaging with students last week through a fun Pizza, Pumpkins, and the President's event on October 31st. It was hosted with the Student Government Association. Also on October 30th last week, we hosted the annual Fall Business Forum, where we discussed the college's financial outlook and funding mechanisms. The forum underscored Lane's commitment to transparency and alignment with community needs. We're grateful to everyone who attended and contributed to these essential conversations. So October was an active and a celebratory month. I'm encouraged by the strides we are making and inspired by the commitment of our entire community to Lane's mission. Together, we are creating a supportive and innovative environment that empowers our students, engages our faculty and staff, and strengthens our community ties. And that's my report.
Thank you. We will be moving on to the Student Government Association report. Sophie, will you please provide the report?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, President Bolger and my fellow members of the board. So Student Government Association has had a very fun and active last month. As President Bolger mentioned, we did do our Pizza, Pumpkins, and Presidents in conjunction with the Tutoring and Academic Services, which did a costume contest for Halloween. That was very fun. A lot of students attended our Pizza, Pumpkin, and Presidents. It was a great time to offer free food during midterms, so I think that was a really awesome event. Not only that, Student Government Association is planning an event for the end of November. It's going to be a harvest feast. We are going to work with Titan Pantry to provide take-home meals to be able to cook for their families during the holidays. So that's really exciting to be able to pair with Titan Pantry. Not only that, but we do have our December 4th event of Peppermints Presidents. Yeah, that's it. Peppermints and too many P's. And we're going to have hot cocoa and just do some more, talking with students and getting to know them. As well as that, we're also have a project going on where we offer free snacks and free school supplies outside of our office. So yes, we've got some exciting things coming up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. I'm hoping to pull a couple. I was just asked some very quick questions. Does anybody else have any items to pull? Okay, so I'm hoping we can just pull BP 3430, 3433, and 3540. I think it'll just take 2 or 3 minutes. I just want to ask a couple quick questions if that's possible. Can we have approval of the consent agenda without those 3 items?
Which letters do those correspond to?
It's the final 3.
Final 3.
And I have questions about the last one and the third to last one. But I thought since they all sort of go together, we could just pull those 3 for a minute. And then we'll vote on them in about 5 minutes.
Okay, I move to approve the consent agenda as modified.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, say nay. Okay, that passes unanimously. Can we pull up board policies 3430 and 3540?
Chair Mulholland, I just wanted to indicate that I was present in the room.
Oh, thank you. Perhaps I got my numbers mixed up. Can we go 3433? Go to 3430 again. I missed something here. Where is the red line versions of these?
The red line version follows the current version. It's in the same document, but you'll have to scroll down to the 2nd or 3rd page.
Okay, so the things that were added seem to make sense. I was just wondering if you could walk through the things that were deleted and just making sure that they're still covered somewhere. So with regards to the deletion of marital status and familial status under unlawful forms of harassment, can you explain why they're no longer there?
And I apologize for keeping my camera off. I'm having some issue with connectivity here, but you'll notice that they are removed from the sentence that I believe you're looking at, but they are added below a sentence or 2 later in the same paragraph. And this was just at the recommendation of OCCA's legal counsel to make sure that we're compliant with the Title IX regulations. The board previously, through consultation with legal counsel and human resources, decided to expand the protected classes that it is. The board had a session looked at what is required by state law and what were some additional in the list that the board decided at the time it wanted to include. It was just moved to different locations in this policy.
So it looks like the second set of descriptors are making our campus free of those things, and the first set of descriptors are what is a legal requirement. So our marital status and familial status no longer legal classes that are barred from discrimination.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then can we jump over to the one that deleted the piece about stalking, and just to make sure that that's still captured somewhere? I believe it's the shorter one, yeah. So you can go down to the red. So just wanting to make sure that stalking of any kind is still included somewhere, and then just an explanation of why campus visitors was removed. And I think we're done after that.
I would need legal counsel to provide that response for you, Chair. It is my understanding that this is the specific language that the OCCA Policy Library lawyers recommended that colleges have to be compliant with Title IX. I believe, but I would have to confirm with Daniel that stalking of any kind is included in some of the definitions that are covered by Title IX, but I would need Daniel to respond to that, and I don't know if he's in the room.
We have a question from a board member, so I'm going to ask Lisa if you have a question.
Yeah, sure. So, Brett, could you clarify, my understanding was these updates were part of the annual OCCA updates to their libraries based on some of the changes that happened to Title IX at the federal level? Is that what these changes are from?
That's correct. And it is the OCCA policy that you may recall the conversation the board had when it included some additional protected classes. And so there were some classes and references in our version of the OCCA policy that do not exist in the standard OCCA policy. So we made sure that our policy was in compliance or followed or at least the suggested revisions follow the exact language in the OCCA policy, but where we have removed some of those classes, we tried to re-add them back and had legal counsel look at those to make sure that it didn't change the overall policy and that we remained compliant.
Thanks for answering those questions. I really appreciate everyone taking the time. Could I have a motion to approve the final 3 board policies?
I make a motion to approve the policies.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 And all opposed, nay. Okay, and it passes unanimously. Okay, next up is the board vacancy timeline. So the board has been presented with some options for the vacancy timeline to fill the at-large position that will be vacated by Lisa Fragola, whose last board meeting is tonight. There were 3 main options. So the first would be to have an additional meeting in December. The second would be to do the interviews during the normal work session in December. And the other option would be to do a special meeting in January. My strong recommendation is to go with the normal work session time in December. It's the same process that we followed for Mike Eister. It's the fastest. It doesn't require us to have an extra board meeting, and it provides the most flexibility in that if we have a large number of applicants, we could do a second round of interviews before our January retreat, which I would really like to be able to appoint someone prior to that retreat. So is there any discussion of this item? Seeing none-
I like that recommendation. I think that's a good one.
Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. And all opposed, nay. Okay, and it passes unanimously. Okay, next up is bond project prioritization. President Bulger, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you. We are bringing the bond project prioritization list to the board again, and I'm going to turn the time over to Kara Flath. And Kara, once we finish this item, I'd like for you to go into the resolutions as well afterwards.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Jennifer Hayward, our Vice President of, or Associate Vice President of Facilities and Public Safety, to come up and introduce.
Thanks, Kara. Shane, could you open my second to the last item?
Plan for.
Yeah, the bond plan for October, and zoom in on the right side. So while Shane's opening that, not going to do a lengthy presentation. That there's the materials that were submitted with this meeting are the same as the materials that were submitted last month. So not much new to talk about, except the only new thing, I submitted an additional list of baseball considerations because that's been a big topic of conversation between meetings with information requests. And I wanted to present some additional information about that. So, but before I get to that, today we're asking, I'll just summarize what we're asking the board to do. Thanks, Shane. You could probably zoom out a little bit to show that whole area there, but yeah, that's good.
Which document is open at the moment? What's it titled? Is that the planning for remainder of bond October 2024?
thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. Thank you.
What we're asking the board to do tonight is make a motion to approve these final priorities for bond projects as listed. That's one option. You could also pull one or more items. You could reprioritize them. So that's the ask for tonight. But to give us priorities, whether it's this exact list of proposed priorities or something similar or somewhat modified. And then, Kara, did you hand out my? Yes. Okay. I asked Kara to hand out my baseball considerations list. I just had this uploaded to Board Docs about a half hour before the meeting. So those on Zoom should be able to look at it on your computer, but I'm just going to go through some of the questions that came up real quick. Some of the things to consider, there are environmental concerns that have been brought up tonight. I want to bring up a few other things. If we go with synthetic turf, we can have the field ready for the fall 2025 season for baseball. If we go with natural grass, because it takes longer to grow, we won't be able to have it ready until the next fall season 2026. What are the consequences of the timing differences? LCC has leased fields through spring 2025, so we have fields covered for the baseball team if we go with the synthetic turf option, but we don't have fields coverage for the baseball team for next year for the 2025-26 season. If we go with natural grass, so that very likely may mean that we would have to put the baseball team on hiatus for a year while we grow the grass. Another question that came up that I wanted to make sure and provide an answer to is, can the college provide the board with bids for both types of fields? So if we're prioritizing having the field done by fall 2025, we can't, because it's too late now to get it designed for a grass field and to get that bid out and to get you all numbers by March, which is when we would need to have the contract approved. But if not having a field by fall 2025 isn't the priority, then yes, we can do that. We can have a grass field designed and get bids and present those at the same time as we could present a turf field, but it just wouldn't be by March and the project wouldn't be done for the fall season. So I wanted to talk about the impact on community use. I know you've heard about that from a couple other people, but just to reiterate one more time, if we do a synthetic turf field, the community can use it. If we do a grass field, it could only be used by LCC's baseball team, and the team would also need to use other fields like Joshua talked about. They would still have to be using the soccer turf field for practices during the wetter months, and probably likely having to lease fields during the wetter months for their games too, because the natural grass just isn't playable here during many months of the year. So although we can't get a quote for a grass field in the proposed timeline, we were able to get an estimate from our landscape architect of about $2.3 million. The reason, oftentimes the natural grass fields are quite a bit cheaper than synthetic turf fields, but in this case, the reason why it's not much cheaper is because the site work and the drainage scope for this project is so significant. It's $1.4 million. It's more than half of the entire project. and we have to do that either way, whether it's in synthetic field or a natural grass field. So that's why it doesn't pencil out as that much cheaper in our particular case. The difference in maintenance costs between the two fields, I went into a lot more detail into what went into all of these numbers in the information request. So you can get more detail there if you'd like, but we do have, you know, about 14 years of experience maintaining the synthetic turf fields, and we really don't have to spend hardly any time or money on maintenance on them. It's very cheap. So that this is based on our experience. The natural grass field, again, is based on our experience. Chair Mulholland submitted a document close to before the board meeting where a grass professional talked about it being about $50,000 a year to maintain a natural grass field. I'm saying 30. Either way, I think 30 maybe is more accurate for our area, or for our particular circumstance, maybe, I don't know, but anyways, somewhere 30 to 50. I calculated the 20-year life cycle cost, and in our case, because of some of the specific factors I've already mentioned, synthetic turf is coming out as cheaper, and there's a lot more detail on that, again, in the administrative responses to board member information requests. I won't go through that now. And then I wanted to talk about the impact to the baseball team, that, you know, with the synthetic turf field, they'll be able to practice for many more hours per year. They'll have fewer game cancellations, fewer need to scramble to find places to play. And they'll likely be higher ranked in WAC, whether, you know, that's a consideration or not, I don't know, but I just wanted to put that out there. And another question was, can we obtain prices from multiple synthetic turf companies? And yes, we can. Our plan is to use a governmental contract, but there are quite a few synthetic turf companies that have governmental contracts, so we can get a few prices. And we can have a third party analyze the environmental pros and cons of the chemical components and other various factors of a few different synthetic turf field manufacturers' products. Other things to consider other than the environmental pros and cons and the price that I wanted to throw out there were consider other aspects of the community benefits agreement. One of the reasons why we've used Field Turf in the past is that they are an Oregon-based company with in-house construction crews who live in Oregon, including their laborers. They can get here quickly when needed, and they also have a recycling facility in Oregon. And I'd also like us to consider references, so to call around at other facilities that have used the various suppliers and installers and see how happy the owners are with the quality of the various materials and installers. Couple more things. Can you use a material other than rubber made from recycled tires for the outfield infill? And yes, we can use cork. The upfront costs are about $322,000 more expensive. At this point, we don't think that there's a big difference in maintenance costs between the two products, and there could be a positive impact on community use, but I think we haven't had a lot of time to research those two things, so I'd like to reserve the right to change some of my statement on that in the future, but at this point, those are what we're thinking. And then I mentioned some steps that we're taking to mitigate harmful environmental impacts of the artificial turf, including looking at data from multiple companies and weighing, considering that in our decision factor and which company to select. We'll have some natural filtration elements included in the project. There's a potential that we can use cork instead of rubber if it's feasible within our budget. And if our research continues to show that it's a equivalently good product, I guess. And we looked at our sustainability policy, which is a set of decision-making criteria. Some of the criteria would lead us towards the choice of a synthetic turf, some towards a natural grass field. But in addition to sustainability factors, we also have to consider factors such as student experience, community benefits, and life cycle costs. So my last page of this presentation is some information about, there have been a couple of people that have presented about professional sports players who prefer to play on natural grass, who don't like to play on turf. I just got some information from Field Turf about the number of professional and high-level collegiate teams that use synthetic turf fields that are listed here, and I won't read through that, but just for your information. And that's all I wanted to say about baseball, and I'm ready for any questions about the bond prioritization in general or anything else.
Okay, I've got Austin and Cole.
I'm sure that Cole was to provide additional, provide additional information. Dr. Joyce, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention one thing. Director of Athletics, Greg Shealy, is unable to be there tonight because the soccer team has a playoff and he's attending that simultaneously. I did want to mention just something about the student experience. I know we've got students there tonight and we had some really good words from students, but last season, I do believe our students had 52 away games because they're unable to play at home. And to just think about that as a student, being in vans and buses, driving all around the state and other states to be playing games and not being able to host home games, it's really difficult. The students are pretty much attending online at Lane and are not really connected to the community college because of this experience they have. I did want to mention that and just make that clear that wherever the decision making goes tonight, I want to support our students and highlight what they've gone through in the last few years to be able to play baseball, to represent Lane, and also they're stellar students, the GPA and what they're inspirational, and I just want to thank the students and just point out what they go through day in, day out. Even practice, we're patching together practices between Springfield, Bushnell, 4J, Sheldon, in times where high school students or students are not at school because we're not able to play. So students are playing in the evenings. Our students are playing in the evenings. They're working part-time. They're doing what they can. It's a really difficult situation. I would like the board to just be thoughtful of that. I do appreciate all your consideration. Thank you.
We've got Austin and then Steve and then Lisa.
For the purposes of discussion, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the prioritization schedule shown before us.
Second.
Okay. Do you have comment?
No comment at this time. I would love to hear this discussion. That's why I made the motion. Thank you.
I'll add you to the list. Steve, then Lisa, then Denise.
Thank you. So, Jennifer, my question is something I kind of already asked a little bit about in ahead of time, and that I believe you responded on behalf of staff. But I just wanted to go over it a little bit more detail. My chief concern, it's not that I'm against baseball. I'm supportive, but I do have concerns about sort of highest and best use of this money. And I recall being shown some dire information about the status of some of our facilities, right? And so you included, or somebody included a list of top 25 deferred maintenance needs as of March of this past year. And the one that really catches my attention, I'm hoping that you'll answer that one specifically, but also more generally, well, let me ask a specific question first. we see here on this list that there's this electric feeder wire that would cost some $2 million to replace. And the description is pretty dire. It says this feeder wire has a lifespan of 30 years, but is now more than 50 years old. And in 2012, an engineering study said that we had a medium to high probability of its failure by 2022. So it's 2 years past even that. And failure of those wires would result in power loss to multiple buildings. I can't help when I read that and I think, why aren't we funding that kind of a thing before the baseball field? So I'm hoping you could answer that.
Yeah, fair question. So just for a little bit more context, I agree with you. This is a very important project. I hope it's done very soon. And thank you for bringing it up. The engineering study was based on the age of the wire. They didn't do an visual inspection or any testing because it's buried conduit and they just can't without being destructive towards the wire. So it is over 50 years old. It hasn't failed yet, but just because of its age, it does have a medium to high probability of failure that would affect multiple buildings. Because you brought this up, I talked to Kara about it before the meeting, and she let me know that we are tracking about $3 million more in interest income than we've included in this sheet at this point. So there are options for likely getting this, also adding this project to the bond list. This project in particular. And then regarding the other things, some of them, as I've circled, are on this bond list. And then the other things I think point to the fact that we need to continue funding major maintenance. It was funded this year at $550,000. We need to keep funding it at a higher level than that. I think historically, before the bond passed, the college was funding it at between about $1.5 million to $2.5 million. We need to get back to that place and continue funding our major maintenance so that we can cross these projects off the list. And those are my thoughts.
Thank you. So, and then the other one that's a large dollar value, right, is the central plant boiler, a $3 million project. And the description there is not quite as dire, but pretty close. Existing boilers can't keep up with campus load or on cold days. The largest is provides half of our campus heat's 25 years old. It's close to the end of its useful life. I see those things, and it's really, really hard for me to decide to vote for the baseball field, which is important. And I'm a fan of sports and all the rest, but when I read these things about electrical feeders and central plant boilers, which are beyond their useful life, et cetera, those just seem like have-to-haves, as I wrote. And, as much, I know some people in the audience will be upset to hear me say it, but relative to that, the baseball field, to me, is like a nice to have. We would definitely like to have it, but we have to have a functioning facility. So I hope other commissioners will keep that in mind as we move forward to the vote.
Can I add just a comment to expand on what Jennifer's also saying, is that I hear what you're saying, and that is the perpetual, conundrum for public buildings everywhere. So that's not helpful, but the entire list is 28 million. So we continue to have to be challenged with that. What I've learned since my short time being here is this has been a discussion for years. And I think it's been kicked off the list because of this very topic. And there is always going to be need. We do have to plan for everything on that list at some point and continue to work towards continuing to have capital projects at a larger scale. And what I would also say is the other important piece to remember is this also helps us keep our enrollment up. And as we keep more enrollment, that also brings in more dollars. So I hate to see this program either be jeopardized or decrease. And when you go out and look at that complex, the long-term vision is it will be a sports complex. We'll have pickleball courts, we have newer soccer courts, we have newly remodeled track courts, and then we have baseball. So it's when you come here as a kid and you look and you play, the hope is that you're like, hey, I want to play there someday. So we are looking bigger picture too, but still yes, we do have to focus on deferred maintenance and continue to fund all of that 28 million.
My other thought on the boiler, Steve, is that we need to look at replacing the boilers in the light of our climate action plan too. And this $3 million is basically replacing like for like, which is natural gas fired boilers. So I think that with this one, even though it is pretty important and urgent, we need to step back and take a little bit more time with it and be more planful and perhaps plan that as our next bond project.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
I've got Lisa, then Denise, then Sophie, and then I'll put myself in the queue.
So I am finding myself thinking very much along the same lines as board member Steve Mattel, in that, I ran the bond campaign and helped to draft the bond. There was no mention of a baseball field in the 2020 bond campaign. I'm sorry there wasn't, but there wasn't. And we're not talking about general fund dollars in this instance. We are talking specifically about bond dollars, bond funds. There was even a point in the conversation around the Bond Oversight Committee that doing the turf was brought up within the Bond Oversight Committee, and the board provided clarification to the Bond Oversight Committee that we were not including that project within the bond requirement in the bond projects. So I'm really struggling with seeing this included because it was not included as a bond project. What was included as bond projects was deferred maintenance and safety and security, and those are things that are really critical. So we also made a commitment to the community that we were asking them for their tax dollars for these specific projects. And the citizens of Lane County voted with that, that was why they were giving us the money. But I would also like to fast forward to the numerous conversations that this board has had about the financial health and accountability of this institution. In fact, the president brought it up in her comments tonight. And we have had a private consultant tell us that our deferred maintenance impacts the score that we have, which then impacts our ability to function as a financial institution, such as buying bonds or getting loans. So, I agree, this is a really important project, but for me as a board member, one of the most important roles that I have as a board member is the financial stability of the institution. And so even though I would absolutely like to see this project done, I'm struggling with seeing dollars that were not dedicated to this project being directed to it, and then seeing those dollars come from projects that they were dedicated to. And some of those projects are things that would help our deferred maintenance at the college. And then there's the list that Steve is mentioning. So I am not going to block this decision in terms of the list that's been prioritized for us, because I trust the decision-making of staff, but I would encourage the rest of the board, given that this is my last board meeting, to really consider, are we making the best decision based on the financial stability of the college, based on the numerous conversations that we've already had about the financial stability of the college.
Okay, I've got Denise, then Sophie, and then Julie, and then I'll give myself one at the end of the first round. I'll speak, and then we'll go to a second round, okay? For use.
Put me on the list too.
Okay, so you'll go after Julie, and then I'll go, and then we'll go to a second round for Steve.
Just, I want to have clarification of the amount of money we're talking about that still remains in the bond.
The proposed project list of $8.8 million, is that what?
But is that represent what is left of assigned, so to say, bond money? Is that the total? Does that represent that?
Essentially, we hadn't included some of our interest income in there yet. Maybe Kara could talk a little bit more about that.
What we're saying is there's still interest that we haven't allocated, but 8.8 million is going to be majority of what we're anticipating at this point. There will be some interest that will still come in.
And you would approximate that interest at?
It depends on the market, and the market's
But
going to
still
move.
a lot of money that's
Yeah.
collecting interest.
There is still a lot of investment money out there, yes.
And I wasn't here for the bond, the organizing of the bond and the messages to the community. So I certainly appreciate the history offered here, but I am aware that not all of the projects that were communicated to the community that would be in the bond are actually listed. And the mobile unit in Western Lane being one of them that I think the rural communities have been very interested in and proponents of, and I think that is an example. So I do think that the arguments or the case that has been made for the baseball field is very, very strong. And I know that this is a difficult fiscal decision, but I also think we're talking about a long view. As you indicated, this ongoing major maintenance is something that has historically not been addressed enough, and we're going to have to continue to pay attention to it. It's not going to be a one-time fix by any means. So that's an ongoing thing. However, if we can get something that's more immediate for the community and for revenue, I accept the argument that the baseball field will bring in revenue to the college, and I think that is something we should pay attention to.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind me addressing a couple of the comments. So to Lisa's point, she's correct. We didn't put out there anything about baseball or athletic fields, but in the background planning in the bond, the baseball field and the replacement of the turf for the soccer and track and fields and the track surface were included in the deferred maintenance planning. So they were in the background. My background planning documents, when I was putting out there, we're going to spend this much on deferred maintenance, I was including the baseball and the track and the soccer work that we've already done. And then I wanted to mention that the mobile manufacturing lab for Western Lane County is the priority number 3 item.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got Sophie, then Julie, then Kevin.
Yes, thank you. So I really enjoyed the multiple perspectives that everybody brings to this board. And one thing we haven't spoken about tonight is the environmental impacts. And that is a huge conversation that's been going on for a very long time. And so from documents that you've shared, it's my understanding that you said that the runoff goes to the north side of the campus in the ditches off of 30th. Was that correct?
That's where all of our stormwater goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted, that does directly go into Russell Creek, which runs off into the coast fork of the Willamette. And so I've spoken to many of the ecological professionals that work at this college, such as like Rick Glover and Shelley Mort. And, part of this is that we can't make everybody happy. Obviously, that's an impossible feat. But I think that the importance of a baseball field, considering our exceptional athletes and students here, is really important. But I also think finding that happy medium is very important. And so a lot that hasn't been spoken about is a cork field, or, something that's an alternative to turf, because not only is that usable throughout the year, considering that seems like grass is, the grass or turf ultimatum, finding that happy medium would be preferable for a lot of different sides of this conversation. And so is there a different timeline for a cork installation, or does it follow the same as the installation for turf?
So we could replace the rubber and fill with cork and fill on the same timeline.
Okay, interesting. And it doesn't seem to be that much more money comparatively to the millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's about 300,000.
Yeah, that comparatively seems like a lot less. And so from a student's perspective, talking to the students during tabling and talking to our professors, I would urge my fellow board members to kind of go in a more sustainable route while still speaking for the exceptional students that we have here tonight and the few that I've spoken with as well on the baseball team. So thank you.
I'm going to ask that we extend for 18 minutes from now. We're almost done with our first round. We may have a second round, but that would take us to 7:55. Okay. So if that's acceptable, I think next up would be Julie and then Kevin.
Hi. Well, first question quickly about the cork field. I thought that the cork would be an additional $300,000 on top of all the other expenses. It wouldn't be, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, correct.
So we'd have to if we wanted to move to that instead, it would be $300,000 more than the rubber, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that that got clarified for Sophie and me and my brain when we were trying to get that number together. So I'm glad you mentioned the deferred maintenance, because the way I view everything that's being said about this field is that basically the baseball fields have been in deferred maintenance forever. And because of the condition of its current grass and mud and all of that. So that seems like it meets the criteria for the bond and everything I've read, if it's going to be picked up and prioritized as part of the deferred maintenance. But it also, everything that I've read too in the bond is that there's a whole piece in there on student focus and facility improvements, which in my opinion, the baseball field meets that criteria too. So I feel really comfortable that we're meeting the bond elements that the community wanted to be improved on campus, because again, the campus is here for students, for their accessibility, for their experience. And I want to make sure that we're always student focused. As a past athlete, that's always going to be one of the things. The athletic experience is an amazing experience as part of the educational process when you are a student athlete. And so I think that we can't do an either or and say, no, we have to choose the other maintenance because, well, it's more important. It's like, no, in my opinion, student experience, athletic experiences, this field, the community involvement, all that stuff is a bit more important, and it should be prioritized. So if the cork isn't an option, if we could do it affordably, I would prefer that. Of course, I think we all would, but I'm not sure that we have $300,000 that we could go find to do that. And I really hesitate to delay this any further. And so that's my kind of statement and a question. Maybe I'll back.
Yeah, I've got Kevin and then myself, and then we'll start a second round with Steve.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Julie's comments that the baseball field has been bumped. We heard it tonight. It's already been bumped off the list one time. I trust that staff has put this package together in a responsible way, and I'm comfortable with that. Regarding the cork, I seem to remember that cork is a less proven material, or am I misremembering that?
It definitely is. I mean, these are just our initial findings. We'd like to do more research on it. And when we come back to you with a proposed contract in March, we would have a lot more information and a proposal for you that's either cork or rubber based on expense and more, like we'll research other fields. We'll have more time to do that.
And any decision the board makes will have an impact. I mean, talk about cork. Well, let's ask the cork trees how they feel about that, right? I mean, there's an impact. We already have on campus you say 14 years experience with 2 turf fields right now. So I'm imagining if for some reason the board did not approve this list, that I would go out and stand on the soccer field, the turf field, and look out over the mud flat that is the current baseball field and wonder, what did the board just do? It wouldn't make any sense to me. So I am in support of the proposed bond project prioritization list as presented.
Okay. So I have a number of questions on a couple of different topics. So I'm going to start with the cost, and then I'll try and get into some of the environmental stuff this round. Your 20-year life cycle analysis, did that include the replacement cost in year 20?
No, not for either grass or synthetic.
So if we included that, it would actually put synthetic as being a higher cost than natural grass, right?
In year 2020, it would be higher, but if you kept going out, then it would balance. You know what I mean? If we went out to year 25, 30, then grass would catch back up to synthetic turf.
And every 10 years,
Yeah.
synthetic would go back up.
Yeah, it would go back and forth.
So anyways, I'm a little, these numbers seem a little weird to me. Prior to this meeting, I sent some information from an organic grass consulting company. They just saw a top of the line natural grass fields get put in for about $900,000. And they were suggesting that a $50,000, maintenance cost that would go down over time would actually mean that we would not require adding new turf every 5 years. So can you explain why it is that an organic company would say we wouldn't need to add new sod every 5 years, whereas this proposal says we need to add sod every 5 years?
Yeah, I can. And I think our landscape architect, Matt Kohler, is perhaps a panelist who could come up if he's here and help me out. But his experience with, okay, let me back up. The first question was the $800,000 or $900,000 versus the more expensive upfront cost, right? That was the first question.
Sure.
And I see, okay, Matt's there. So Matt, feel free to jump in why don't I just let you, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I think the question is why would an organic grass company say that it would only be $50,000?
No, Matt, what? Oh. There's a natural grass installer that said the cost to install a natural grass field is about $800,000 or $900,000 versus the 2.3-ish that we're saying. And I think that they're right that a lot of the time you can install a natural grass field for $800,000 or $900,000, but our circumstance is different.
Yeah, that would not include the drainage or the amount of uncategorized fill that you have. So in this situation with your field and the mud pit that it is, there is extensive amount of soil, at least 12 inches, that need to be removed in order to make this either a natural turf field or synthetic turf field that has a chance of being playable. If you were going out and sodding already, I'll say a decent soil area where you're adding some sand or you're tilling in some amendments and sand, then that is a much closer price tag. But in the scenario of where this field is located at the bottom of the hill, and with the undocumented fill material that's there, we would need the same level of general drainage that is required. It wouldn't be rock, it would be soil and sand, but you'd actually end up with probably more drainage pipes than you would in a synthetic turf field. And that is what is creating kind of that comparable place on this particular field. And this happens on about half the fields that we look at with proximity and location with the soil types in our valley.
Okay, so whereas the organic company is saying that that an organic field wouldn't need that $1.4 million of additional drainage, you're saying it does need that $1.4 million in additional drainage.
Absolutely, this field does. If you did not do drainage on this field, it would not be usable in 26. It would actually not be probably usable at all. It would go back to kind of how it is.
It's specific to our particular location.
Okay. And their statement that an organically managed field would not need new sod laid every 5 years, is that something you can comment on?
Yeah, Matt, can you explain why? Yeah.
Yeah. So that is our experience in the sand fields that we did at the U of O. It was required because of the blowing in of weed and POA grass. And trying not to use negative chemical fertilizers to mitigate that grass, that POA grass, it basically created where every 3 to 5 years you were stripping the sod off and resod. You basically get to a point where you're losing your battle of keeping the type of grass that has a longer root system in place that then therefore creates the safety that we have.
Okay. I think it's maybe worth just asking for a second opinion on some of these costs. I think that some of these costs are inflated. With regards to an artificial turf field, we heard that in many cases it's required to wet the fields down to keep them from being too hot. So Alan Benavides from the Emeralds mentioned that they wet their fields when it gets hot. And that would require an irrigation system, whereas we're saying that this one would not have an irrigation system. Can you comment on whether we need an irrigation system for an artificial field to keep it cool or to remove, to clean it?
Yeah. Again, Matt, feel free to Matt, go ahead.
I can say that we do not. So generally, there are some fields that we will put quick couplers, so not a turf, not a irrigation system, but a place that a hose could be plugged in. If there is a desire to be able to put water on a field, I am always a proponent for being cautious of treating fields with synthetic turf fields with water as a thought of cooling them down. Generally, what it's used to do is to knock down, kind of resettle any turf or knock down any static electricity that can sometimes happen in the heat of a hot sun. But in this scenario, I do not believe that you would need that.
And is that what we currently have for our soccer field and our
Yeah, I'm trying to think if you have
we
any
don't have
quick couplers
irrigation
out
for
there.
those. Yeah, no.
Can we go to the document from Brightworks Organics? And pull it up on the screen, please. I just have a couple quick questions I'd like to run
Do
through.
that by going to the administrative requests and then I'll help you navigate to the link in there.
While they're clarifying that, can I ask a process question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tonight we are only voting on the prioritization list, correct? And then there will be additional information brought to us in the future about the type of contract or field that we implement or that the board implements?
It sounds like if we approve it as written, they would only look at artificial turf fields at this moment in time, unless there's an adjustment.
As the chair is saying, that it's two different designs, and currently the design plan is to go towards artificial turf.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to be clear on what we were voting on. Thank you.
But when you say artificial and the discussion questions that we've just had, does that include with the potential substitution or use of cork? Or because I think the interest on 8.8 million would cover the additional cost of the cork. Wondering where cork fits into this.
We need a decision on natural grass versus synthetic turf tonight. We don't need a decision on cork versus rubber tonight. We can make that decision when we bring you the contract.
Yes, as Jennifer's saying, our plan is, of course, there's multiple different vendors on the state list that we could use. Our plan is to get multiple different bids and explore all the options for artificial turf that have been discussed and bring forward the best plan within the budget that's approved that still is environmentally friendly as we can with the budget we have. So that is the goal, but the board will still be approving those contracts down the road.
If we only have 2.5 million, that only gets us the rubber infill.
It
depends on-
Probably with
yeah.
our current estimate, but that's an early estimate. We need to look at that.
So I'll try and get this through as quick as I can. So at our meeting 2 weeks ago, the artificial turf company said that their material is PFAS free. Can you go to the first page, please? But according to the review by Brightworks Sustainability, their results specifically say that there's PFAS in their product and that the results show the presence of PFAS. The testing report demonstrates that PFAS is clearly present and that steps have not been taken to remove PFAS from the manufacturing process. And they
Point of order. I'm sorry, Chair. Didn't we go over this exact list and get these exact answers at the last meeting?
This
from
document only was
experts?
made. This document was only provided today, so I don't think I.
But isn't it answering the exact same questions about PFAS?
No, it is not. Can I finish my question, please? With all due respect, I gave everyone else a chance to get through their questions. I'd appreciate if I had the opportunity to get through mine. Thank you.
These are questions.
I was getting to my question. Thank you. So the Brightworks Sustainability recommended to provide that the company be required to provide a total organic fluorine test and an updated method 1633 test because the methodologies that they use are outdated. Are you planning on requesting those tests from the company, and are you making sure that they're going to require those tests before we install their products?
I'll be honest, I don't think that any of the companies have done those tests, and I don't think that on our timeline they'll be able to complete them. But what we will do is the information that we got from Field Turf on their testing was a very summarized information. What we will do is we'll ask for their raw data, their full data set. We will have an expert review not only their data set, but their competing companies' data set. And we will look at which company has the most chemical, the most PFAS-free product. And, that'll definitely be a consideration.
What if the PFAS levels test it higher than the safe levels recommended by other government bodies?
At this point, the information that we have is pointing towards that they do not, but
Well, I'm confused because the sustainability person we brought in, they reviewed the testing that these companies put forward saying that there wasn't PFAS, and they said that those results actually show the presence of PFAS and that the testing reports show that it's clearly present. So I'm trying to understand why you're saying the company says it's PFAS free. We have the sustainability expert saying that their data says that it has PFAS in it, and you're saying it's PFAS free. And
I'm not saying it's PFAS free. I agree with you that the gentleman that was here from Field Turf said that in the meeting, and I don't think that he was accurate with that. I think that this sustainability expert was accurate, and I think that we need to request not the summarized data and not the corporate statements on corporate letterhead. We need to request the lab results from the third-party lab that did the testing for each of the Field Turf companies that we look at. And that's what we need to analyze when we make our decision. And I don't think none of them may be PFAS free, but we can look at using the company that has some of the best test results.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that we do ask for those tests and that we ensure that any product that's selected actually meets the safe levels that are recommended by Brightworks Sustainability for those tests, so that we don't install a product that has proven levels of PFAS that are unsafe. If we can scroll down to the bottom of page 3, please. Just going to note that our Brightworks Sustainability says that there is literature that explains the issues with microplastics, that it gets into the heart, lungs, reproductive organs, kidneys, brains. That the next page around PFAS, that the health effects are include cholesterol, changes in liver enzymes, decreased birth weight, lower antibody response to vaccines. That the EU is phasing out microplastics that include crumb rubber infill because of the 6 ppd. And so this is a material that will not even be allowed in the EU in the future. And then they point out that the National Recreation and Park Association notes that high surface level temperatures on synthetic fields can lead to dehydration, burns, and blisters if exposed skin comes into contact with hot surfaces, as well as heat stroke. And they provide a number of really interesting studies. So I hope you will actually read through all of the studies that they bring forward and that we can actually look at some of these other alternatives. And I will leave it to Steve for his second round.
Whoa. Okay. Well, thank you. I just wanted to, I'm going to take us in a little bit of different tack. Thank you. I was persuaded really by Julie's comments and Kevin's, but also what I heard from staff, right? My big concerns is, just to remind you, were some of the major facilities level projects that we were leaving off, but Jennifer and Kara said, well, actually the most significant one, there is a plan to cover it with remaining bond funds from, I think you said the iTech project, but in any case, so having heard that particular concern answered and wanting, like several others have expressed, to to both influence staff, but also trust the work that you have that you plan to carry out and the diligence with which you do it, I'm going to support the measure.
Sure.
Yeah.
I move the previous question to close debate.
Can I make one more comment before you close?
Yeah.
Just before board members vote, I want to address one of Zach's last comments, which was that we should bring forward a PFAS-free product. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. We will attempt to, but board members need to understand that if they're approving us moving forward with planning for a synthetic turf field tonight, we will do our best to choose the best environmental option. It may not be PFAS-free. And I'm hoping that you'll still be prepared to vote on approving a contract in March if you vote on approving this project tonight. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. If it's accept, I would like to just make a very quick 30-second statement, and then we will have a question if that's acceptable.
Chair,
Yeah.
we have a motion on the
Sorry,
table to
Brian.
close debate. So I can't remember if it requires a second.
It does require a second
It
and a
requires-
2/3 vote.
And a 2/3 vote to close.
Second.
That'd be 5 people. Okay. Again, I only want about 30 more seconds, but let's go ahead and have a vote to close the debate. All in favor of closing the debate, say aye.
Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Yeah. So if you could do a roll call vote, please, Celia.
Kevin Alltucker,
Yes.
Denise Diamond,
Yes.
Austin Fulnagi,
Yes.
Lisa Fragola,
Yes.
Steve Mattel,
Yes.
Zach Mulholland,
Nay.
Julie Weisman.
Yes.
Okay. With that, we have a vote on the motion at hand.
Can I again request a roll call vote, please?
Kevin Alltucker,
Yes.
Denise Diamond,
Yes.
Austin Fulnagi,
Yes.
Lisa Fragola,
Yes.
Steve Mattel,
Yes.
Zach Mulholland,
Yes.
Julie Weisman.
Yes.
Priority.
I have another motion. I would like to request that the president ask the sustainability committee to research artificial turf in an expedited fashion and make a recommendation on the continued use of artificial turf at Lane Community College.
I'll second that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. That's done. Okay. I think it's extremely clear that there are environmental issues with artificial turf. I think that the company's materials say that it contains PFAS. I think that we know that crumb rubber infill, which is the most likely infill material, contains 6 ppd, which is dangerous to salmon. I think that many of us are aware that there is heat issues. There are professional athletes do not prefer artificial turf. So I have some materials here that I'm going to spread to the board that you've already received that show that the NFL Players Association has research showing it has higher level of sports injury. And from the U.S. women's soccer team that they no longer play on artificial turf because of the increased sports industry injury. As Lane County gets hotter, I think we're going to have more and more hot days where artificial turf is going to be unusable. And so I think that there are real sustainability issues at play here that deserve a deeper dive and more research. And I think that the body at Lane Community College that is able to make that decision and make those types of recommendations is the Sustainability Committee, who can make those recommendations to the Infrastructure Council and on to the College Council. So I would really like the sustainability body at Lane Community College to research this issue, weigh in as soon as possible, and ideally that would be the policy moving forward. Thank you. And Steve.
I appreciate the spirit of that, of the motion. And I guess I wanted to counterbalance that with my feeling that we have a president who is a great listener. She's been listening the entire time, taking notes, I assume, hasn't said a single word. Last time we had this debate, she did the same thing, and the project has shifted a little bit, right? We now have some information on Cork infill. We have, we've had this additional debate. I just sort of feel confident that that the will of the board or the interests of the board have been heard by her, and it is her duty to try and thread the needle as best she can. And I trust that she will do that without a directive from us. And so I'd rather leave it to our president to have the room she needs to move, and trust that she will move in ways that best satisfy the board as representatives of the community. So for that reason, I would prefer not to have to take a move like this, because in my view, it expresses a lack of trust in our president.
Kevin.
Thank you. I think this is an example of the board overstepping its roles and responsibilities and getting into operational features and responsibilities that are the college president's responsibilities to carry out. One of the things that I'd like to remind board members as community college trustees, we have a standard of loyalty, and that is to make decisions in the best interests of the college and students, and to leave our personal agendas aside. Thank you.
I've got Lisa and then Austin.
Austin.
Oh, sorry, Austin and then Lisa.
Yeah, the Sustainability Committee and other committees are part of shared governance, which is an important part of our governance system. So with that, I would like to hear more from the Sustainability Committee in regards to CO2, ways we can reduce CO2 levels with this. So even though I'm in favor of voted in favor of this, getting recommendations from the Sustainability Committee, I feel is part of shared governance, and as information as a board member, I would really appreciate.
Lisa.
So I'm curious if this would delay the implementation of the project, or would the goal be to have this completed in time to implement the prioritization list as we just approved?
If you're looking at me for an answer, if we don't have approval to do a synthetic turf field tonight, it's going to affect the timeline.
So my understanding was that we were voting to approve it as a synthetic field, and we did vote to approve it as a synthetic field.
That was my understanding.
Okay, so I guess my question is, would the work done by the sustainability committee, would it delay the implementation of the project, or would it be done prior to this work? I'm trying to understand how it lines up.
It would
I
have
think
to be done. Oh,
I
go
think my microphone is on. I think I want to jump in here. And I really wonder what the chair is actually asking for. I think that the chair has it's kind of a timeline in mind. And so I want to ask a clarifying question before we weigh in on that.
If it was possible to have the report done before a contract was selected, that would be my ideal. I would really like it if we could get bids for both a natural field and a alternative field so that the decision would not be set in stone at this moment in time, but it sounds like that boat has already sailed. So, I mean, my expectation is that it would potentially not affect this project. I would like it to, but I think that boat has sailed, unfortunately.
Well, I would certainly appreciate the board leaving this to me without continuing on with the motion. Certainly the board's business, what the board would like to do. But this is one of those things where if you ask me to do something, I generally follow through. And you can have my commitment on that.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
So this would be asking the Sustainability Committee to research artificial turf in an expedited fashion and make a recommendation on the continued use of artificial turf at LCC. Yes.
And that would occur within the timeline of the project.
I don't think that's been defined.
So what I'm asking for is to see the Sustainability Committee is not part of our governance system. I think that's right. Isn't that right, Jennifer? It's not.
Correct. They're not part of the governance system.
No, they are not. And so they are they are a committee on the campus, and they actually are supported by the AVP for Facilities and Public Safety. So from my perspective, this is an operational matter. I would just advise the board on that. And if you ask me to do something, then I will certainly do that without having a motion to direct a committee that is not part of our governance system. And that's, from my perspective, just a little bit out of the order of things. From my perspective, this is an operational matter.
Yeah, Julie.
I gotta just chime in and agree with President Bolger 100%. Not only is it not in our purview to really be doing this, making this type of a motion and directing staff, not even our president, but to actually direct another entity. We haven't even done a cost analysis. I don't think we have the authority to direct anybody on campus other than the president, full stop. And I know the motion is directed toward her, but then she doesn't have any say over a committee that isn't under her purview. And then number two, I'm not even sure that where we are in a discussion item, that we are actually in process able to really do a motion of this kind at this time. So I'm seriously wondering if we're even not even a foul of just process. So I'm not supporting this measure. I don't want anybody else to do it either. I trust the president and the process that we're going through.
Just to respond very quickly, according to the process that was laid out in the responses to information requests a few weeks ago, the process to get a sustainability policy implemented at LCC is that the Sustainability Committee recommends that policy. It then goes to the Infrastructure Council, which then can recommend policy to the College Governance Council. And as far as I'm aware, board members can make a motion at any time during a public meeting if it's seconded. Lisa.
So My question is for Dr. Bolger. Can I direct it?
Yes.
To Dr. Bolger. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you are saying that you've heard this request and you're willing to follow through on it?
I certainly have heard the request. The specifics of the request, I would certainly like the ability to achieve the outcome that's being asked for in the way that I deem necessary.
Anything else? Steve?
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, our president is just simply asking for the leeway to go about it in a way that she thinks is most effective, and I can't see why we wouldn't support that.
Well, so a follow-up. So what type of sustainability deep dive on artificial turf would be done if this motion's not approved?
I'm sorry, Chair, I don't quite understand the question.
So the request is that that you would then make a request to the Sustainability Committee to research this issue and make a recommendation. And you're saying you don't need a motion to do that. So if we don't make the motion, what will you do to achieve this goal of having a sustainability perspective and a recommendation related to sustainability on artificial turf?
I'd like to bring that back to the board.
I would go ahead, Denise, and then I would like to move forward with the motion.
Okay. I just want to clarify. I may be using the wrong initials. So when the college goes out for bids, right, which it has to do legally, are those RFPs? What are those called?
And yeah, our RFQ, but in this case, we don't have to go out for a bid because there are governmental contracts for turf installation. And we only have to look at one company, but because of the board's questions and requests, we're going to look at several companies. We're going to get prices. So get prices, not get bids from several companies. And we'll consider their pricing and we'll consider the environmental aspects of the product.
Right. So I guess that's what I'm hearing, because my experience is when, you go out for bid, that a lot of times the language of going out for the bid can focus in on some particulars, right? So it filters perhaps companies that wouldn't do that or can't do that or whatever. They're not able to provide the data that is in fact being requested in the bid proposal. And so that's why I was trying to clarify, because I take this conversation as just a desire to be well educated and have the concern, the health and environmental and sustainable concerns of the college, as Sophie was bringing out, and the people that in fact are using this turf. So that if that is our intention, and that is what I hear as the intention, right, to just get the best understanding of what's the highest level of sustainability and ecologically sound that we can get, so we can be well informed about this. And that's how I'm understanding this conversation. And I understand that staff is more than willing to ask those kinds of questions. And we're not doing just a surface, thank you very much, we'd like prices, thank you. We're not doing that. We're taking into very serious consideration multiple ecological, sustainable health factors. Yes. And I think that's good.
Austin?
Major reason why I will vote yes on this is because I heard concerns from the students and from the student body president and representative on the board. And with that, I would like more of that additional information. And I simply want to recognize that this was something our students asked for. As we want to make sure that we are still fulfilling our sustainability goals as an institution. So with that, I want to appreciate the student representative for bringing up those concerns. Sorry, I didn't get the full aspect of what you were talking about because I have really weak signal out here. So, but I still want to appreciate that, and it's the reason I'm going to be voting yes on this.
Thank you, Austin.
Okay. With that, want to do a roll call vote?
Kevin,
Sorry, Steve, do you want to speak before we do the vote?
Well, yeah, I guess I do real quick because I'm going to vote against it, but I just want to then clarify up front, just given Austin's comments, because it's not against this. I'm not against the Sustainability Committee, and I'm not against more information. I think we've made clear through the discussion this evening that even though we've agreed to move forward with a synthetic turf field, that that there's clearly interest in trying to get the most bang for the buck in terms of the environmental and social benefits that we can from that field. And and Sophie said, brought up some really good things in that direction, and so did many other people. And my only point is that I think our president heard it, and I have high confidence in her that she's going to think through the best ways, which may include reaching out to the Sustainability Committee to ask them to get involved, or it may not. She may go with a consultant. I don't know what she's going to do. She's going to take her time, of course, and she's going to consult with people before she does. I know, because that's what she's done in the past. So I just want to be clear. I'm going to vote against it just as a matter of process. I just don't think it's the right way for the board to interact with our president and with the college. But while I'm voting against it, at the same time, I'm very much in support of additional information, which I think we'll get one way or the other.
Celia?
Kevin Alltucker,
No.
Denise Diamond. Yay. Austin Fulnagi,
Yes.
Lisa Fragola,
Yes.
Steve Mattel,
No.
Zach Mulholland,
Yes. That the ayes have it.
Julie Weisman,
Oh, I'm
No.
sorry, Julie.
Yeah, it's all right.
With that, the vote is 4-3 in favor. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 701. President Bolger, will you introduce this item, please?
Yes, I'll ask Vice President of Finance and Operations to come to the podium again. Kara, if you can please introduce the resolutions.
Yes, making my way over. Sorry about that. We have two resolutions here for your approval. The first one, number 701, is budget authority only. Just so we're clear, this doesn't hit the threshold for a public hearing, but this is authorization for money we will receive. This is an estimated amount of the water breakage that we're anticipating coming from insurance funds. Well, it will come from insurance funds, but it's estimated at $1 million. So we're asking for the budget authority to make that project happen.
Lisa?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, I guess we'll go ahead and move to the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 And all opposed, say nay. Okay, Denise is out of the room, but it passes 6-0. Next is resolution number 702.
Number 702, this is a request for contingency transfer. One of the comments we heard as feedback is if we are using contingency funds to bring it in as early as we wanted to use it. This has two particular areas. One is $100,000 in support of the president's office. $75,000 is allocated to cybersecurity measures. It's a contract. An additional $25,000 to support executive professional development that the president's office is working on. The other allocation is $395,000, which is actually budgetary authority only to transfer. It's for the Faculty Professional Development Fund. Their carryover was more than we anticipated in our budget, and we want to make sure early on that that was it's budgeted there. So they have their fund kind of rolls over from year to year. This is what they have as a carryover from the prior year. So they would need the additional budget authority in that area to use it. That makes sense?
Lisa,
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? Lisa?
So the quotes mean that it's negative, right? Or it's positive?
Yes. So we're moving budget authority out of our contingency account and moving it up to those two areas.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Just want to make sure I'm remembering it correctly. Thank you.
Okay. So with regards to resolution number 702, contingency transfer, all those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed say nay. And it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next up is the OSBA items. There are three resolutions and Austin, are you able to speak to these recommendations from OSBA?
Absolutely. And I believe, Celia, there's a presentation or a presentation slide.
Yes, Shane's going to pull that up right now.
Shane, you're amazing. Thank you. I apologize if I cut out. The signal is rather weak here, so let me know if I start cutting out.
Apologize, I'm having to download the PowerPoint and then we'll put it up.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Can we move to do all the resolutions all at once, like we do a consent agenda, or do we have to do them one at a time?
So that's to the pleasure of the board. You can go ahead and do all three at once, but the motion has to include the language of either vote yes, no, or abstain.
I see.
Yes. So yeah, it's the pleasure of the board.
I would move to bundle these.
I can second it. It's just the interest of time.
Understood. Can I clarify for a yes vote?
Yes.
Okay. What's been moved and seconded?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I need to say anything?
Yeah, I think if you just want to just give a 30-second of what each of them does.
Oh, yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. Oregon School Board Association, obviously they provide services to our institution in regards to education services and so forth. They are asking for a dues increase for their association. This is actually, here's the interesting part though. We don't pay OSBA dues directly. We pay through the Oregon Community College Association. There's reasons for that. If you want more details, I can explain that. But overall, that is, it's best to kind of think of it this as a increase in our OCCA dues because we pay directly through OCCA. The second resolution is in regards to creating a Pride Caucus. They previously were a committee before becoming, or if this resolution passes, becoming a caucus. And that committee has met in almost every county throughout the state and have been supporting not only students, but also staff and community college leaders with LGBTQ plus issues, conversations, and discussion. If this does become a caucus, I would highly recommend them coming to visit our campus and to provide their caucus supportive services to our institution and campus. The last one is in regards to bylaws. You know, always a sexy topic to create officer eligibility criteria requirements for candidates, officer positions, and directors in office positions to be voting members of OSBA of directors. This is more just kind of cleanup and housekeeping in regards to their bylaws, and went through the bylaws committee to recommend this language. Hope that was good. Any questions?
Austin, I do have a question about
Yes.
the dues, the changes
Yes.
to the due schedule. It was unclear to me, and I'm wondering if you could just provide a quick overview as to the financial impact to LCC from the change in due schedule.
Yeah. So it is essentially over a 5-year time period. They will be increasing significantly over that 5-year time period. It is going to be a substantial increase in cost overall. The reason for this is because they were able to keep their dues low for the last 25 years based off of a trust that they were able to draw funds from. So this is obviously in 25 years of not raising dues. That's why you see that increase. And then there will be a cost of living increase from here on out so that they don't have to come back and ask for additional dues. Do you have a follow-up question?
I do. I need a little more specificity if you can. So what are we paying now and what will we pay in the future?
Oh, great question. I don't have that information directly in front of me. 1 second here.
Good question, Kevin. I was thinking the same thing. Where do we fall on the
Yep.
on the spreadsheet? Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I apologize.
Did he say the schedule is going to be incrementally increased over 5 years?
Correct.
So then it's not just what's next, it's what's.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Yikes. Why am I not seeing this document?
So I think we're district number 8 and our due 2024, 25 dues would have been 7,000. And by 2031, that would increase from, I'm sorry, we would currently be 8,650, district number 9, from 5,000 to 9,999 students. And that would go up to 18,000 over 7 years.
Yes.
So a $10,000 increase over 7 years, roughly.
10,000 per year. One for it, right? So the annual dues 7 years from now would be 10,000 more per year.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. I will say, though, that Oregon School Board Association does provide a lot of great services that I feel like are very much underutilized. For instance, I'm sure the board remembers Vincent, who came over to give us a training in parliamentary procedures. They also provide additional legal services as well. And on top of that, we get a significant discount through PACE, which is the main insurance company that provides insurance to our buildings, facilities, and so forth. So, yeah.
Lisa?
Yeah, this was a conversation that the board had several years ago about, we actually entertained the idea of no longer participating in OSBA because we have OCCA. But it was, the conclusion that we came to that the benefits that we get from PACE far exceed the cost of our membership. And I don't remember the exact details right now, but I don't know, Shane, do you remember that conversation at all? The conclusion we came to was that the investment, at least at that fee at that time, was worth it because of the insurance coverage that we got, that we don't have in any other capacity. I don't know if there's anybody that can provide more information about that.
What I can say from the K-12 world is I have looked at insurance inside PACE and outside PACE. And if, since we were an OSBA member, I never looked at, because of your part of OSBA, you access PACE. But if that is the differing piece of OSBA, I would recommend staying with that because it is the lower cost by far.
Yeah, 100%. Additionally, I would agree with that sentiment if that was 3 and 4 years ago. Why are we a part of Oregon School Board Association? They focus mostly on K through 12. But being OCCA president, executive director, and we are aligning really well in legislative priorities and are going to be coordinating and working together in passing the best possible budget in Salem for higher education. And that's in coordination with them. That, to me, having that kind of joint leverage as we go up to Salem is also incredibly beneficial for not only our institution, but the other 17 community colleges.
Kevin, and then let's try and move to a vote.
Yeah, sorry. But I just tell me again, our dues now are around $7,000 a year.
Mhm.
They will increase $10,000 per year.
No.
No.
No, it'll go from 8,600 to 9,900 to 11,000. In year 2030, it would be 18,000.
Okay.
Year 30,
30 to 31 years.
31, it would be increased by 10,000.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And I apologize. The document is going a little funky on my side.
Steve?
Yeah, my question is whether the decision needs to be made tonight, because if so, okay, I guess I'm ready to vote. If not, I guess I'd like a little more detail on the, the discount or the comparison of insurance with, with the OSBA benefit versus and not having that, whether we'd have to go with another one. So for me, that's the difference, right? If it turns out that we are able to get insurance for something less than, whatever it is, the full value of OSBA, then okay, fine. Otherwise, I'm not quite seeing it.
Lisa?
If you look in the board packet, Steve, it says we need to submit our ballot between November 7th and December 15th. And so I believe the board's final meeting is December 18th. And so there would be time to make that evaluation. I would, however, like to point out that we brought all of the 3 resolutions together in a package with a yes. And I would really like to see us support the other 2, and particularly resolution number 2 that focuses on an LGBTQIA2S plus school board members advisory committee, or adding a position. And so we certainly could move forward and table this one. I think the board has time to do that, but we would then need to amend the current.
I hear what you're saying. At this point, I agree. I would be happy to unbundle it. I don't know what I would ask some parliamentarian to figure out how to get us to.
If you remember from our training, there's no such thing as a friendly amendment. So we need an amendment and a second and a vote on it. And then we would revisit the amended motion.
So I'm just going to, so my preference would be that we would approve this tonight. I think that OSBA has shown its value in coming here and providing a training. We're looking at bringing them again for additional processes over the course of this year, including the president's evaluation process, our retreat. So I think that they do offer some things of significant value. And when you look at the additional cost over 7 years compared to many of the other things that we spend money on, this is a relatively small amount of money for a very valuable service. Julie, I'll go to you first because you haven't had a round yet, and then I'll go back to Steve.
So I just wanted to comment that anytime finance says we're saving money on insurance and I would suggest you go this way, I don't think we need to discuss it any further. That's a cost benefit analysis that's done on the fly based on information looking at a financial document. So I don't think that even if we went through that exercise, Steve, I'm just going to respond to you. So I'm sorry if you don't mean to make it personal. I think we're going to reach the same conclusion. And so I've worked with enough financial directors in my life that if they can answer the question that quickly, they know what the cost benefit analysis is and everything that Zach said. So I would be interested in supporting this.
Yeah, and I would just say, Steve, if there's any information that you want back just generally that you don't need before a vote, then we could do that as well. But
I'm prepared to vote.
All right, so the motion on the table is to approve the OSBA resolutions with a yes vote. Let's do all in favor, say aye.
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 And all opposed, nay. And it passes unanimously. Okay, next item is the discussion items. So financial update, President Bulcher, will you please introduce the speaker?
Yes, I will ask Kara to come to the podium again and give the report on the FY 2024.
Hi, we're happy to be here giving a financial update. I want to give a couple of starter points. When I first started here at Lane Community College and Dr. Bolger and I met, we went through some preliminary things we wanted to work on, and things I knew the college was already doing was the multi-year forecast, which was shortly given after I started, and then the CFI calculation, which we're going to continue to work through. And then one thing that Dr. Bolger and I had talked about when I first started is bringing in a new audit firm, which she discussed at the beginning of this. And so we've done that. And with that comes a lot of review and a lot of, especially when you bring in new people. So you look at all these accounts and you look at your structure, you look at your internal controls, you look at everything. And as we go through that, you find a lot of things that maybe hasn't been looked at. So the bigger concerning part is when you have a financial audit firm that you've had for 25 years, when they initially come in, they look through a lot of information, right? And general government standards are about 5 years is when you want to term out an audit firm, because then they start to get comfortable with the people, they get comfortable with the process, and then they don't maybe they don't look through everything as thoroughly as they had when they first started 25 years ago. And so bringing in this new firm, there's a lot of things that we're looking at, we're exploring. There's a lot of new financial brains looking at things. It's going to take us more time to look through all the data. So our financial audit has an extension through the end of March. I just want to make sure the board knows that. The goal is to stay on time for December 31st. That's probably not going to happen because, one, we have shortage in financial staff. 2, you have new financial staff. And 3, we have a new audit firm. So those are all positive things in my opinion, because you get to see my face. So hopefully that's a good thing. And then we have a new audit firm that we're working through a lot of standards. So just know that caveats out there. And as I present this, this is something that President Bolger supported and things that we've been working through. And we will continue to bring you the multi-year forecast next month. We'll start having discussions, but we want to give you a snapshot of 2024. I will preface this with 100% that it's unaudited financial information. So that means it can change based on information as we go through the audit firm. We are now giving them, this is way more information than you may want, but I'm a financial person, I tend to do this. So we'll give them our trial balance. We'll start going through looking at data. If they find errors or things they suggest we fix, those numbers may change. So that's my first caveat. If we look at the next slide down, I got to look at my sheet because I'm not able to see as well. This is kind of a snapshot of where you are. If I were to highlight a few things off this page, there's a lot of data on this page, a lot of information. I'm sure everybody read it and really loved it. But a couple of key things, the revenue from 23 to 24 based on our unaudited financial statement is that it's gone up 10%, almost 11%. Really positive news. The expenditure total also went up 8.1%, which wasn't quite as much as revenue. So that in theory takes your ending fund balance a little higher, which it did on the bottom. A couple of areas to point out is the expenditures for your materials and services went up 30%, 30.7%, which is a lot. That doesn't surprise me if the college was going through a lot of freeze, they couldn't spend anything, and then the revenue started to kick up, so people were investing in things. So that doesn't surprise me. What you'll see on the bottom is the ending fund balance is tentatively at 8.2 million. We had estimated in the budget it was 8.9 million, and that's a gap of about 700,000. There's a couple of areas that I just want to point out as we are working through the audit and looking at all the accounts we have on the books. There's 2 large accounts that had some reconciliation, some old reconciliations. One of them was actually back to 2012 that actually needed to be put on the books, and that was about $500,000, which sounds like a lot. In total, that particular account is over 4 million, but when you dig through I'm giving you a lot of data, so forgive me. But when you dig through and try to reconcile all these accounts, you go back to see why things are sitting in there. And one of them was something that should have been booked. Back in 2012, it wasn't. So it needed to be booked now. We recognized it's not a part of that account. It's a balance sheet account. It's very technical. So I'm giving you a lot of detail.
So our projected balance would have been 8.7, and the difference between that and the 8.2 is this $500,000.
This is one of them. There's one that's 500,000. Then we had a smaller one that was 60,000. Between those two accounts, it's about 600 of that $700,000 difference, what we expected
So
to
this
land.
discrepancy is due to
Some
a year
reconciling.
earlier. We actually had $500,000 less than we thought we had, and it's
10 years earlier, you actually had
so literally this
500,000.
is just $500,000 that is just getting reconciled now. But each of these prior years, you could have actually $500,000. Those would actually be $500,000 less too.
Theoretically, if you went back and opened up the books from 10 years ago, that's where you would have booked it. We can only book it from where we are now. So we look at these accounts, and as we go through, and I'm giving that as an example, as we go through and we've looked at majority of the large accounts. So anything else we find should be minimal, but I say a caveat because there could be something we haven't discovered. But I just want to give that to you as an example, is when you bring in new faces, you look at new things, and you have a new purview, that's some of the cause and effects you're going to see. And the other piece I want to point out that's on this sheet is the fiscal year 24 subfund deficits, which I think the board has already, I know the board's already discussed Fund 9. That's been brought up this last year, that there were some deficits. In super technical terms, the college uses subfunds within funds. So you have a general fund and you have all these subfunds that make up this big general fund. When you look at those, you compartmentalize them into all those little subfunds. These are the areas that we will need to come up with a plan and address. So it's a debt the college owes itself in a long story short. So what the plan is for financial people like me is I need to work with my counterparts and the people under those areas that honestly some people may not know that these deficits exist because they may not have been looked at. I can't say what has and has not been looked at, but this is something the college is going to have to address in the next few years and figure out a strategy on how to clean up these old accounts. It's not doable in 1 year because we don't have $4 million sitting around to clean that up, but we do need to come up with some strategies to do that. I see squishy.
Just as a reminder, so our goal for ending fund balance is 10% of the budget. Is that right?
10% of expenditures, yeah.
Ostensibly, we should have had about 9.1 would have been our 10% minimum. Okay, and then the in the top right here, this is where you're referring to the deficits that we want to slowly but surely we want to pay back, as we can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So that's kind of a lot of information in there. And just know as we work through these, we're in our picture evolves, we keep looking at things. We are going to, our goal is to have a minimal impact to the service level to students and all of the mission of the college. So we're going to have to strategize on how to do that. But I just want to keep giving you this information, make sure you see where you are. Again, just a couple caveats. One, these are unaudited statements. So I'm going to keep saying that. And these are tentatively our early numbers, and you'll see more information. We will continue to work through and bring you a forecast next month. As things are coming through, we really want to dig through our first quarter, give you some good numbers. Sure.
Lisa.
Previously, the board was receiving these reports that were like a snapshot of how we were lining up with what we budgeted, with what we were actually spending. I don't remember the name of those reports. Is the board going to continue to receive those?
Yes, that'll be part of we'll continue to give you that report in our quarterly financial update in December, and then we will also give you the multi-year forecast. But yes, it will include that.
Very useful. So I think.
And I'll look at the previous format and make sure I'm thinking of the right things. So that's good to know. And the goal is, I know both from the president's office and myself, is to have this report to you monthly, but I want to make sure we have a good grasp on where we're at. We've looked at all the accounts, and I can give you, hey, here's where we're looking at in real time. So the next page just kind of summarizes some of the points that I gave you. Tuition and fee revenue is up almost 15%. Personnel and M&S, those are up 5.7 and 30%, and the ending fund balance is, within 0.5% of our board policy. Any other questions? I think that's. Oh wait, I have other things. Sorry, go ahead.
So when we think about the budget, which was based on a 3% enrollment increase, and we're actually tracking 8.1 or 8.3 enrollment increase. I can't remember what the number was mentioned earlier. So where does that kind of fit into this forecasting process? Like, we built this budget on a 3% increase, but we've got more enrollment, so we've got more money coming in. Is that the increase in revenue?
Yes, and yes, to an extent. So this particular, well, you're going to see a couple things. One, you're going to see a forecast just based on where we think we're expending, and then you'll see where our budget lands out. The budget is always built on estimated revenues that will ebb and flow. So the hope is at the end of the day, when the year closes, all the revenue that you forecasted, you actually saw. So that's something we have to look at. Even if tuition is up, maybe another area is not meeting the level that we expected. And it also depends on ending fund balance rolling over. So we know we built in 8.7. We already have a $700,000 gap in our budget. So those are all the things as the year goes on.
So revenue is more than just
yes.
the
Yeah,
tuition.
yes. Yeah. And it's like a maximum point. So we build a budget at this level that we hope to achieve, and it doesn't always happen that way.
Okay, great. That clarified it. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Items to watch. So again, the audit target is March 31st. I mean, it's due to Secretary of State on March 31st. Again, and just for formalities, the board is aware, because I know it's a new audit firm, you will see them come present to you. They will come communicate with you. You'll see that before March 31st. Our goal is actually in February. So hope to have that done, but I needed to give ourselves that time. If you don't file an extension at Secretary of State, you get fined. So we don't want to be in that picture. Subfund debt reconciliation, and then we talked about the ending fund balance. And what we don't bring forward, the ending fund balance, is also a shortage in the next year, like you just brought up. So we will bring you a 3-year forecast and an updated look. And again, as we go into budget season, there's all those caveats we talked about. Having a state budget, whether it gives us everything we hope we need to sustain where we're at, is a concern.
Or one more? No.
And then I think that really is it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions, discussion from other board members?
Thank you.
Yeah, look forward to the budget forecast in December, and just thank you for all the great work. Hey, academic affairs update. President Bolger, will you please introduce the speaker?
Yes, we have 3 updates, short updates: academic affairs, human resources, and student affairs. And so we'll go one at a time. Dr. Tinkham.
Board members, President Bolger, I'm joining you from Newport, where today I met with my colleagues from the community colleges, chief academic officers, and also chief student affairs officers, talking about our mutual interests. Because of the time, I'm going to try to be very brief. You have my report, so I trust that you have read through that. October was a very busy month for us in academic affairs. We had a number of accreditation site visits. One, our national accreditation with the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities. That was our mid-cycle. And then also our nursing program had a professional accreditation site visit. Both of those processes went very well, and once I have more information, I will update you again. Also, I wanted to bring to your attention in the report that I talked about the positive enrollment that we are seeing in our very first baccalaureate program, the applied business degree in applied business management. I also wanted to alert the board of some information that we've learned just recently, that effective in FY 2026, third and fourth year undergraduate courses at community colleges will be included in our FTE calculation. So that's some fabulous news as we continue to build out baccalaureate programs. As you are aware, the board approved the RN to BSN degree type last academic year, and we will be bringing that degree forward to you very soon for full consideration. And in the interest of time, I'm going to leave my comments there. And again, you do have the report. And if you have any questions, I will take them at this time.
Seeing none, we'll go on to the next.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you a couple of things that are going on in HR. I want to put out a promotion for an upcoming cultural competency professional development training that's happening. It's sponsored by Faculty Professional Development. It'll be led by Avery Old Coyote, who is providing some training this Friday, the November 15th, on a discussion of the social impacts and political effects in the century following the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act. The presentation is called 100 Years a Citizen, and so invite interested folks to attend that. On campus climate, we've just completed one of our 9 goals coming out of the campus climate work groups. We've completed a revision of the hiring procedure. Want to express gratitude to the LCCEA Racial Equity and Social Justice Committee for their feedback and input on that, as well as several other stakeholders. That hiring procedure will be published next week. We're also going to be putting out call for funding with the Lane Forward Fund. We'll be putting out call for proposals, rather. They'll come out later this month, and the focus this year will be on projects that improve the student experience, both inside and outside of the classroom. We'll also be getting underway with a DEI officer recruitment. You've heard about that position and program. We're finalizing the job description and identifying the chair and committee members for that. I want to also recognize under labor relations cooperation that we've had with LCCEA on communicating Title IX changes to faculty. We also, coming out of the most recent Labor Management Committee meeting, had an agreement to collaborate on issues of student mental health. We estimate that we've spent about 40 to 50 hours of staff time in response to LCCEA information requests this past month. Also want to give you a brief update on Title IX. Remember that law changed and they added coverage for pregnant students. We had 4 students who withdrew from the program that they were studying this year without penalty because of their pregnancy, and they can come back. They won't have failing grades or have lost any finances because of the protections of that program. So it's having real life positive impacts on students who are pregnant. We're obviously watching the outcome of the election and impacts to a number of different regulatory areas, specifically this one, of course, and we'll continue to keep you updated. And barring any questions, that ends my report. Yeah, Denise.
So when you say, the different groups that may be impacted by the election, do we need to have a plan? Are we talking about our dreamers? What's our groups that we're talking about, and what does that mean?
We're still unpacking it. Obviously, I spent some time today looking at Project 2025 and the impacts that it might have on various areas under my portfolio. I can speak specifically about Title IX because that was one of the areas that there's been a difference in philosophy between the administrations. If you think back to what Title IX looked like during the Trump administration, there's some likelihood that it may go back there. There's some some confounding factors though, because state law provides broader coverage than the Trump administration did at the time. And so we'll be navigating all of that. It's quite possible that the same protections we have under Title IX right now prior to the Trump administration will still be in place through state laws. So
Are you saying, just to try and understand a little bit better, in Oregon, right? Are you saying that state law would supersede, or I don't know if that's the right word, what would protect some of these particular groups, or the college would have the opportunity to use the vehicle of state law? Because I think there's a lot of talk and concern about how various groups and agencies are thinking about what they may need to do to protect particular groups.
yeah, I can't speak to all groups, but I can tell you that the experience that we had under the Trump administration for Title IX was that the state law provided stronger protections for victims under state Title IX. It's not Title IX right at the state level, but in terms of protections for those folks. And so the experience that we had was as if the new regulations under the Trump administration didn't have the damaging impact to victims that they may be experienced in other states because Oregon's law was so much stronger.
And just out of curiosity, I don't recall, you probably shared this at some point. Just how many students do we have that fall under the category of dreamers?
That's out of my wheelhouse. Maybe I don't.
I would actually say that we don't track dreamer numbers. It's something that institutions don't do for very good reason. We track DACA students, but not dreamers. So
Okay, so how many DACA students do we have?
I can find out that information for you and provide it to you.
Thank you. Just curious.
Okay, we're on to our last report from staff and then one from LCCA, and then we'll finish our wrap-up items. So student affairs.
Hello. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I will keep it brief as well. I know it's in a busy election season, and I think everyone's a little tired. I wanted to mention, first of all, that while fall term is just around midterm, we're in full swing for recruitment for fall of next year, and also winter and spring and summer of the upcoming year. But for instance, we've got 2 recruiters. Rosa is being out to like Douglas County Fair, Rosberg, Willamette College Fair, Willamette High School Junior Senior Seminar, Coquille Indian Tribe, and many others, Junction City, Pleasant Hill, and so on. And also Susie Kakak is being out to working on recruiting adult students 25 years old and older, Churchill Areas Neighbor Association, Oregon Department of Human Services, and many of different areas. I did want to mention as well, international programs. I mentioned a little bit last time, but we have 84 new full-time students from 26 different countries. I got to highlight that that is unusual for community college or a four-year college that tend to kind of rely on 1 or 2 major countries. We're much more diverse in our student body when it comes to international students. The Student Activity Fee Committee has been working on really, they've been getting training through Becca and Carl in those areas about how to go about what they do, and also Director Jonathan Campbell helping them in the finance side of things. The Council of Clubs has ratified 9 total clubs and registered 6. And also had sessions on how to start a club. Student engagement is definitely on the rise at the college, and it's really positive to see all the things going on campus. The Multicultural Center has had multiple different events, and if anyone was on campus this last week or so, Dia de los Muertos event was held, and they had mocktails, tamales, and Spanish-speaking events, and so on. The Native American program coordinator, Avery Coyote, and NASA are planning on programs about Indian boarding schools, such as Chemawa up in Salem area, and also they're planning for the 2025 powwow already, where I do want to keep it short, as I mentioned, but the last couple of things I want to mention is we've got Veterans Day on Friday, November the 8th, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. at the Longhouse, and there will be activities going on there in recognizing this special day. And last thing I want to mention is our student mental health and wellness. Right now, they've kept times open during this election time, and for the students who from all different areas that need help, they blocked out time so they could have walk-ins and be available. They're seeing a lot of students, and every term the number of students they see increases. So we're keeping track of that, as are other I'm in Newport right now too, and talking to the colleagues at other campuses. It's pretty much widespread, that increase in the need for increased mental health and wellness. That's all I've got from my area, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, not seeing anything. Thank you for each of your reports. And last report of the evening is going to be our LCCA report.
Good evening, members of the board and President Bulger. I'm going to be reporting on a few topics, and I have provided to you by email, and it's also posted on board docs, both two different documents. So the first thing I wanted to address just briefly is all of the issues that are impacting the faculty in ABSC and ESL. You heard from a number of the faculty members tonight. I wanted to share a little bit of a summary of the current issues and the current status, and also highlight a new issue that came up last week. And in addition, mentioned that there are more than 40 faculty members in ABSC and ESL. So this is really a significant group, and we're really advocating for a very timely resolution to all of the issues that are impacting them. 3 of the 4 issues they've been impacted by have been going on since May. And 6 months later, we've had only one meeting that the administration has agreed to hold with us. That was in the end of August. We are having one meeting. We're going to be having one meeting to discuss a settlement of one of the 4 issues, and we're very much looking forward to that. And we look forward to collaborating and working toward resolution on the issue related to accrual families. The 3 other issues include compensation for required training. And that one has been unresolved since May and is scheduled for a hearing in February. That was another one where we had just a single meeting in the end of August about that. The impacts to changes in minimum qualifications. The current status is that again, another one of the issues that has been impacting all of those faculty members since May. LCC, the college has refused to negotiate over the impacts of the changes, which impact faculty job security. So bargaining is legally required, but LCC has refused to negotiate over that. So that is one that has gone to an unfair labor practice. And then the new issue that came up last week, you heard some reference to that from a number of the faculty members, relates to lists of courses which LCC now states that the faculty members are not qualified to teach based on the current minimum qualifications before even these changes are made, which comes as a tremendous surprise to all of the faculty members who have been working here for, some varying from literally 1 month, just having gone through a hiring process, to, more than 20 years. And so there are a lot of challenges with that, especially regarding the fact that no information has been provided as to why the faculty members are now being told they're not qualified for some of the classes, and that more troubling is that the reason provided by the administration is that there is now a claim that there are no formal minimum qualifications on record for the 2 departments. And you'll find a number of documents linked to the memo that I sent you, so you can see for yourself what the minimum qualifications have been through presentations by management, through all of these documents are provided by management. We're sorry to see that this is continuing and that the issues have increased. The faculty in ABSE and ESL are tremendous and amazing, and there's no reason for this to be happening. There is no regulation change, no legal change that requires these changes. So we look forward to your guidance in helping to ensure that the approach that LCC takes around this is more collaborative, and one that includes working together with LCCEA so that we can address these issues without further delay. One other thing I wanted to mention related to these issues is that from the outset, what we have been asking for is simply to, quote, press the pause button and work together on a better process rather than move ahead. And that has not been possible because the administration has not been willing to meet with us, talk with us, resolve all of these issues, and they have only escalated over time, impacting more than 40 faculty. So on to some other topics. Share a little bit more about the colloquium that Avery Old Coyote is going to be giving. And this is organized by the Faculty Professional Development Program in collaboration with Faculty Connections, the new Faculty Orientation and Mentorship Program. And so Shane mentioned a little bit about it already. And so I won't go into great detail about it, but you can find more information in my report about that colloquium. I'll share a little bit more information about, you did hear from a couple of faculty members, Rick Riordan in the Health Information Management Program and Jerry Minahan in the Cooperative Education Program earlier tonight about 2 notices that were provided by the college to LCCEA. So first, we received notice on October 23rd that the college is going to implement a requirement that all faculty must reside in the state of Oregon effective January 20th. This would be problematic for a small number of existing part-time faculty who are highly qualified and teach only online, but reside out of state, including at least 1 new part-time faculty member who was recently hired to begin working at LCC starting on January 8th. In a highly technical field for which it's challenging to find qualified faculty. In addition, the administration provided notice that there will be a new requirement effective January 20th that all contracted faculty must report their non-teaching work and estimated hours for each activity every term. This would amount to faculty members submitting a total of 600 forms per year. However, we have a contract that provides the opportunity for faculty members to participate in evaluations. And this is the approved and mutually agreed mechanism for faculty and their managers to work together to address the non-teaching work that faculty love doing, because we are very committed as professionals to our service work. So we hope the administration will take a collaborative approach and ensure that faculty evaluations are in fact taking place. We are concerned that these notices circumvents our regular upcoming negotiations because the notices state that the changes will be implemented on January 20th, which is only 12 days before negotiations for our next contract are slated to begin. And this is not something that the administration has ever done in the past. Unfortunately, it also appears that the college is avoiding negotiating these changes in successor contract negotiations by implementing them immediately before the negotiations. And this appears to be a subversion of the collective bargaining process that's required by state law. And similar conduct by other employers in the state of Oregon has previously been held by the Employment Relations Board to constitute bad faith bargaining. And there's a letter link that provides more explanation about that. We're disappointed to see this type of action. A few more updates. We appreciate the collaboration Shane mentioned regarding some of the work that our Labor Management Committee has been doing together. And one of those is working on reporting a procedure for reporting issues that impact public safety. And we'd like to thank Shane Turner for his leadership on that issue. Faculty are also participating in our Gold series of dinners and workshops. As we approach our 50th anniversary of LCCEA, we're going to continue with another one next week. And we're delighted to welcome 40 faculty members for these events that focus on growth, organizing, leadership, and democracy as we build our future for the next 50 years and beyond. And we'd also like to express our appreciation for board member Lisa Fragola for your many years of service, including leadership to help guide our institution through the pandemic, which was a very challenging time. And congratulations on your election to House District 8. I do also have a faculty spotlight related to all of our amazing faculty in the PTA Physical Therapy Assistant Program. Christina Howard, who is the coordinator of the program, just published in the Career Development and Transition for Exceptional Individuals Journal. So you can read more about that and find a link to the article in my report. And congratulations also to all 3 faculty members of the PTA program, Mark Duke, Christina Howard, and Beth Thorpe, on their 100% pass rate for their students in the Physical Therapy Association program from the class of 2024. You'll see some photos in the report of faculty engaging in solidarity with the Teamsters who are on strike over at Bigfoot Workers, and together with our colleagues at LCCEF and Lane County Education Workers, as well as a number of us who participated in the OEA Bargaining and Organizing Conference over the weekend. And on a final note, as we reflect on the national election, LCCEA renews our commitment to our mission, which is to engage in collective action to ensure an equitable learning and working environment and advocate for social justice and systemic change for the public good, and to strengthen the foundational role of community colleges in our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to closing items, any board member questions or the Frankie's unavailable tonight, so we're skipping the LCCEF report tonight.
Okay.
So moving on to closing items, are there any board members' questions or comments? Okay, I had a follow-up question regarding Bigfoot Beverages. It looks like in the response to information request that we do have a contract with Bigfoot directly. Can you explain that contract and what options, if any, that we have to temporarily suspend that?
Yes, the contract that we have with them is with our vending machines throughout our campus, including downtown campus, and they pay us a portion of what they sell in those particular machines. Within the terms, I would have to ask for a legal review if we have any grounds for a termination of the contract or a pause of the contract, but it is an active ongoing contract where we make revenue. We don't pay them for anything.
Yeah, in support of the striking workers, I am interested in potentially putting forward a motion or a resolution at our next meeting where we could take a vote on it. So I will follow up on what our options might be in that space for a potential future resolution.
So, Chair, this is a question that you asked of me, and so I'm glad that you're mentioning it here. I have asked for a legal opinion on this question that you had, and I don't have the legal opinion today, but I will certainly share that with the entire board when it's received.
Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah. I think this is another example, Chair, of the board getting into operational issues of the college, and it's inappropriate for the board to consider an action as you proposed. And I think it could put the board in some legal jeopardy in terms of perhaps a secondary boycott issue. So I just caution the board to move very carefully. And in fact, I would recommend that it's not the board's purview to
I appreciate that perspective. Thank you. With that, there was a question that was flagged around how board members share educational materials. And so I just want to recognize that. I do agree that the current process might be a little bit clunky in terms of having it go into the response to information requests when effectively it is a public comment from a board member in sharing those materials. So I just want to say I recognize that, and I'd like to have a follow-up conversation just to make sure that we can do that in a way where it doesn't seem unfair in any way. And with that, I would like to recognize our outgoing board member, Lisa Fragola, and present this.
Oh, gosh, more. Well, Chair, if I could just say that we so appreciate Lisa. She was the outgoing chair when I was hired, and so we had many conversations about Lane Community College, and really appreciate her support and all of the information that she shared with me during that time. It's traditional at Lane for board members who are leaving for whatever reason to receive the picture that you see there, and it's called the Road to Lane. I think it may be Gagnon Drive, and so I hope that you treasure that. I have seen those pictures in the homes of people. Won't tell you where to put it, maybe in your office. I'll just lead with that. But we just want you to remember us and remember, because we will remember the service that you have provided to us. So thank you very, very much.
Great, thank you. Thanks. It'll be the first, thank you. It'll be the first piece of artwork up in my new legislative office.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you all very much.
So just thank you for your service. And with that, the last item is please note that the upcoming work session is scheduled for November 20th, 2024, and we will be meeting an executive session at the conclusion of this regular meeting. And so we will take a 8-9-minute break and come back at 25 after. And with that, our meeting is adjourned.